This is my planet. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351 1i. Xiaoru became more and more accepting of the fact that this man was really talking to her about serious matters, and his channel was not about other things, so some of her uneasy feelings gradually subsided and she began to get serious. I discovered this thing very late. Turin was extremely dissatisfied with the internal situation at that time. The opposition between light and darkness had just ended, and the laziness and ignorance of the orcs made the energy tribe extremely uncomfortable. In addition, the dark demons were born, and the hostility was deep. Turin felt that this was not the tribe in everyone's mind. It was a blasphemy to the energy and a betrayal to the gods. So he resigned as archbishop and asked to be exiled to the most marginal mining star. Xiaoru sighed, but at that time I suspected that he had ulterior motives and hid in the remote edge of the wilderness with ulterior motives. Xia Guixuan laughed. It's not you who suspected, it's the influence of the vague evil thoughts. This kind of suspicion and insecurity is the amplification of evil thoughts, maybe, but it was impossible to tell so clearly at the time. We are one soul, Xiaoru said. Anyway, I secretly observed him at the time, but I didn't find anything unusual about Turin, but I found that the red moon was weird. It was too remote before, and I didn't notice it. It should be said that we should be thankful that it is in such a remote location, otherwise it would have been discovered by blood erosion long ago. The star field is so large that it is not easy to discover the abnormality of an ordinary small satellite unless you pay attention intentionally. Yes. After I discovered the abnormality of this thing, I was cautious and did not dare to act rashly. Instead, I looked for similar things. And I control the entire beast tribe with my brain, so it is much easier to find such things than blood erosion. I soon found a cosmic dust with similar performance. That was the fossil that was later used to deal with the god of plunder and was taken away by the master. Xia Guixuan nodded. Well, go on. Getting such a small fossil is much more controllable than the red moon, and it is convenient for research. I found that its core is the remnant of flesh and blood of a life. I was shocked but also moved. Xiaoru whispered, after all, I am studying the path of life and flesh. There is a way to resonate with it to a certain extent and even control it. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, it's a bit foolish. I was so greedy that I didn't care about so many things. Xiaoru sighed. At that time, I imagined a good future. I could collect all the remains and refine them into corpse puppets under my control. Wouldn't it be unstoppable to roam the world? It's a pity that I never found other parts. I didn't know how much I hated you for taking away the fossils. Xia Guixuan laughed. Yes, I can roam the world without anyone stopping me. Xiaoru's face was slightly red, and she whispered, I can control it. These words finally had a bit of a woman's slight anger, and suddenly there was a sense of charm, but she quickly covered it up and lowered her head without saying anything. Xia Guixuan's heart actually jumped slightly when he saw it, but he quickly suppressed it and asked, is your control the method of corpse puppets or the method of flesh and blood connection? Xiaoru said, it is the flesh and blood connection. Which is somewhat similar to the brain control of my beast race? Xia Guixuan's expression became serious, and he said word by word, so don't you find that the key difference is that it is alive? Xiaoru's face was slightly pale. She found it. What is the biggest difference between the corpse puppet method and the flesh and blood connection method? One is dead, the other is alive. This cell is alive. This holy devil can't be considered dead at all. It's normal, actually. For you who were practicing wuxiang at that time, you couldn't understand what it was like to be alive after being blown into cells and scattered. It was hard to be alert enough. You should be thankful that you didn't find other parts. It's okay if it's just a cell. If it's a relatively complete part, it will be an out-of-control monster, and it is very likely to backfire on you. Yu lowered his head and said, now I know, you have been studying for so long, what else have you discovered besides this? Yes. I can comprehend the Dao from its remains, just like the descendants of the gods captured the heavenly Dao from your overflowing spiritual energy. Yu said, it's a pity that these parts of it are too small, and the Dao is missing and scattered, and there is no system. What did you realize? The law of life, the growth of flesh and blood, just happened to be in line with me. The reason why I was able to break through taking is also closely related to this. I don't know whether I was able to capture this because it was in line with me, Or because it itself contains this? Xia Guixuan pondered. He also captured the Dao, but what he captured before was destruction and creation. Just like the origin of the universe, a point, absorbing, expanding, and finally exploding, forming a universe. From nothing to something. The derivation of life should be after this. What everyone captures is different. It does not contain only one item. So you've been searching for so long, although you didn't find the other parts. Do you have any clues? For example, since you can manipulate it to a certain extent, can you sense the vague locations of other parts related to it? Yes, where? I always feel that there is an eye looking at here, a place separated by a dimension. One, yes, an eye, dead and deep, calmly looking at its own body, evolving the heavens. Do you know the general direction? Yes. Because some of them once came here to explore the way, but I led the god-slaying priest group to kill them here, and their consciousness was wiped out, the predecessor of the digital core of Jimeo Star. Huh? What kind of life is this? Ghost? I traced its soul, and it was probably a world of the dead. I can't even imagine how that world multiplied, and whether they were all projections of the deceased on our side, Yaowu side. In fact, if there hadn't been the war on Kanglong Star, I originally wanted to explore this place, but now I think about it, I was too arrogant at the time. This kind of dimension is not something I can easily explore. Xia Guixuan suddenly laughed. You set this up on the market star. Do you mean to track the dragons as a barrier? Yaowu said nothing. The Emperor's thoughts are just basic exercises. But the little princess is his apprentice, so it's hard to say. No wonder the merchants on the market star are surprised. Zelter has not tried such foreign trade for so long. It is quite self-contained. As you said. It is a very conservative and closed civilization. But suddenly accepted Yu Sun's proposal and set up a star-field trade zone. I thought it became open-minded after merging with the Fox King. It turns out that there are other plans. Yaowu still didn't reply. Let's go to the market star again. If it's appropriate, you and I will go to see the eye together. Yaowu hesitated for a moment, and asked in a low voice, can I follow the master in the form of a shadow guard without showing my face? Do you think it's a very embarrassing parade to be seen by the civilizations of the market star like a maid? Yaowu agreed. You still care too much about face. Your mentality has not changed much? Mozu's training is too unsuccessful, but Yaowu, you haven't considered other people's thoughts, Xia Guixuan said lightly. When the gap is large enough, they will not feel your shame, but only fear of me. Zhao knows this truth, but you can't let it go, Yaowu said with some difficulty. I will try my best. Xia Guixuan blinked. Then I will train you myself. Yaowu subconsciously took a half step back. Xia Guixuan said, I will arrange the first task for you. What task? Take a bottle of White Fox brand beverage and be the spokesperson in the most prosperous place of Jimeo Star, Yaowu. Chapter 352. The junction of life and death. White Fox brand beverages have indeed been sold to Jimeo Star, but the sales are average. The main reason for the sales is that it is a product operated by the Queen of the Gods, which has aroused people's curiosity. After drinking it, it actually tastes okay, and it has some medicinal value. But the permanent population of Jimeo Star is not large. The merchant station here are interested in it, which does not mean that the forces and civilizations behind them are also interested in the Queen of the Gods, so the sales volume cannot be expanded. The collective gods cannot understand the magical brain circuit of a god-born demon king who is obsessed with starting a company to make money. Humans are laughing secretly, but Maya and Xiang Yuxin both said that it is easy to understand and it is right. Because there are many business empires, countries are based on trade, and it is normal for the queen to run something personally. If Xiang Yuxin established a country, she would do the same thing, or even more exaggerated, and would go out as a salesperson to sell things. After all, Yin Xiaoru is still a president. It's just that the product sold is a beverage, which seems a little funny. Yin Xiaoru is already planning to monopolize rings, which is more like that. Of course, the gods are not a business empire. They are an extremely loose tribal and sectarian cultivation model, and they all respect a queen. In this mode, it feels magical when the queen sells drinks, but it seems that a negative doubles the positive, and the effect is surprisingly good. Because the vision of the gods in the past was too narrow, they always looked at their own land, thinking about their own heavenly way, and meditating and secluding for thousands of years. Xia Guixuan said many times, go out. How to go out? Trade circulation is a typical way of going out, and the gods are used to such things, and they will go out themselves. It seems that there has been a change from an agricultural society to a commercial society, and the opening of the Zeld star field and the establishment of mountain gates on various planets have a sense of déjà vu of the opening of the age of exploration and the colonial era. Xia Guixuan is very confident that the gods will usher in a terrible breakthrough wave within 100 years, based on this. When he arrived at the Jimeo star, Xia Guixuan had already seen many gods here. Just like the information exchange area and technology product trade area he had seen before, Jimeo star has divided the gods into an immortal magic weapon material and method exchange area. That's right, an interstellar level immortal cultivation market was established. The descendants of gods opened a market on the market star, and they were mixed in with various civilizations, and they no longer felt out of place. After all, other civilizations also sell materials and magic and energy items, and some methods of body refining are all available in all walks of life. There are many things that everyone has in common. The most prosperous place on the market star is not the trade zone of each continent, but the intercontinental teleportation gate group circulating in the center. It is a thoroughfare for all directions, and people come and go through this place to teleport to the trade zones of each continent. The traffic is very busy. It is generally forbidden to shout and sell things here, which affects traffic. But today is special. A woman in golden armor and eyes like lightning stood there solemnly, exuding a terrifying aura that makes people tremble at the sight of her. She just stood there silently, and at first glance, people could feel like a majestic priest, a violent warrior, and a king who reigned. They just wanted to bow their heads and leave her quickly, not daring to look directly at her. Many people recognized her. Before Queen Zelter turned into Vixen, Archbishop Yawu of Light, who had just merged with the flesh and blood of the beastman, had this appearance. Archbishop Yawu of Light. Isn't she the queen? She was captured by Father Kanglong, but was not executed? She came here. Is she going to settle accounts with the betrayal of the previous market star? But why didn't the administrator Moya move, including the core control system? People were terrified and dared not speak, and sent people to inform their own residents that the queen was coming. The descendants of the gods and humans have only controlled this place for a few days, and everyone is not used to it yet. The queen has been here for many years, the common leader of all civilizations, and her majesty is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. I don't know how many people are her little fans behind the scenes. As Moya said to Yin Xiaoru before, who is the most popular here? It's not Ling Moxu, it's the queen. People really want to know what she wants to say. Is she really planning a counterattack? As a result, more and more people gathered, at least 1 million people were blocked there, and even many people behind the forces quietly hid in the distance to watch the situation. In the silence, the queen spoke slowly, like the morning bell in a church. White Fox brand drinks are so delicious, millions of people of all races were stunned. What are you talking about? The queen took a deep breath and clenched her fists tightly. It can be seen that her body is trembling slightly. It is not known whether it is because of anger or holding back. I crossed tens of thousands of light years from the main star to here just to drink a sip of drink, otherwise I will die with my eyes open. Bang! Finally, a fanboy couldn't stand this stimulation and fainted. The queen's face was flushed, and she forgot all her lines. She turned into a shadow in shame and anger, and merged into the shadow and disappeared. The intercontinental thoroughfare seemed like a dream. The Market Star Management Office. Xia Guixuan stood beside the control system with his hands behind his back, thinking. The shadow behind him twisted. Yawu knelt on one knee, her voice still shaking with shame and anger. Master. I'm back, not bad. The task was completed quickly. Look, I just asked you to make an advertisement. It's not a humiliation. Be natural. Why bother? Look at Mozu, who is not a little princess. How sweet she smiles in advertisements. Learn from her. Yawu found that he didn't use his mind to look back, and couldn't help but clenched his fist and waved at him, as if he wanted to beat him. Xia Guixuan turned around. Yawu quickly withdrew his hand, lowered his eyebrows and said, Master, is this to declare my subordination to the heavens? Yes, there is such a meaning, but it's not the main thing. Yawu was stunned. The main meaning was understandable, and it was also the reason why she was willing to do it despite her shame and anger, as a way to gain trust and eliminate barriers. The result was not mainly this? What else did he mean? It's mainly because you are always nervous and frowning, not cute. Yao Wu gritted her teeth and clenched her fist unconsciously again. I really want to rebel against him again. What should I do? Maya, Maya, Xia Guixuan suddenly shouted. A mushroom ran in from outside, nodded and bowed. Sir, loyal Maya is at your service. Xia Guixuan pointed at the system. What do you mean by the extra areas here? What do you mean by the original life area and the Starfield selfie area? That. Maya wiped the sweat off her face and smiled apologetically. It means that there are some self-created folk science things for everyone to appreciate. That selfie is Starfield photography, capturing beautiful moments. Xia Guixuan sneered. Don't think I haven't seen the movie. Take these things away. If you make trouble again I will stew you. Yes, it turns out that I can't hide it from the wise and powerful, sir. Maya wiped the cold sweat off her face. I will withdraw it now. Are there any problems with the management of Jimeo Star? There were some problems before, but now there are no more. Originally, many people had doubts about whether our small population could rule a star field as large as Zelter. By the way, the star field should have been called the Kanglong star field, but everyone is still used to calling it the Zelter star field. It seems that someone is still watching whether the queen can be restored after you leave. Maya smiled apologetically, but from now on, this hidden danger is no longer there. Yao Wu was silent, and her clenched fists loosened again, and she sighed secretly. Xia Guixuan glanced at her and smiled. The former queen is indeed a very powerful person. She even calculated the location of this core system. This is a weak point leading to another dimension, which can be called the boundary between life and death. Maya's heart skipped a beat. This is a bit pretentious. It feels like there is something in the place it leads to. Xia Guixuan said, and the soul that has been washed away of consciousness itself comes from the realm of death, so it becomes a separation between life and death, in order to prevent the death energy of another realm from infiltrating into this place, and also to prevent the overly strong vitality of this place from attracting the other party. I haven't thought about this consideration before, and I didn't realize it. Yao Wu, you are amazing. Yao Wu couldn't help but said, what's the use? Some people think that these things are not worth mentioning in front of men. No matter how amazing the soul is, it is still used to sell drinks. Moi, Xia Guixuan coughed dryly and tilted his head. So we have to go to the realm of death, but we still lack something. Something to cover up our overly strong breath of life, otherwise once we enter, we will be enemies with the realm, and things will become inconvenient. Moi wondered, sir, you are so capable, can't you cover it up by yourself? It's different, don't I also need a magic weapon to exert the strongest combat power? The reason why humans are different from beasts is that they are good at using things. Xia Guixuan asked, can you help me find out if there are any related things on the market star? Maya said, I don't know if there is one on the market star, but I know where it is. The little princess has one. She travels through the heavens to do trade. She is very good at hiding changes. Xia Guixuan looked up at the sky. It's great to have a rich lolly as an apprentice. Meng is nothing compared to Fu. P.S. The 2 books I sacrificed recently, my filial piety deteriorated and the man behind the Empress, both suffered 404, and the sacrifice came true. Including the setting of the Fox King's mother-in-law has begun to fade, and the plot has been moved to the back, so I am still alive for the time being. Chapter 353, The First Exploration into the Dead Realm. If you have never experienced the days where you have to slowly search for everything by yourself, or go through untold hardships to create a magic weapon, it is difficult to understand what it feels like to have someone give you whatever you want. Xia Guixuan had experienced this before. His grandfather didn't give him anything, and his sister didn't give him anything either. He was miserable. He had to break a spiritual stone into 2 halves like a mortal protagonist. He went through life and death for a material. He couldn't keep the good stuff he finally got, and had to exchange it for his own necessities. He struggled for 800 years until Kainigan finally began to receive his grandfather's tripod. It was like Wang Doi, who had been poor for 20 or 30 years and suddenly received a call saying that there were hundreds of millions of inheritances. Of course, as the Eastern Emperor of a world, he was very rich. What's more, he could collect cosmic energy and make magic weapons by himself, without even needing any materials, just like the Mirror of Light and the Veil of Darkness. They were all artifacts for others. When he could start to enjoy endless treasures, treasures were just clouds and he had no interest in them. It's a bit like the relationship between him and his sister. Anyway, the habit has been formed. He rarely keeps things on him. If he has something, He often gives it away. He only uses a few magic weapons to specialize, which is significantly different from those who come from famous sects and throw a lot of treasures to kill people. Anyway, his magic is usually stronger than others' magic weapons. When he is in the mood, he can even pick a star to make a weapon. There is no need to keep anything more. Now that he rules the entire star field, he theoretically has more things, but they are all in the treasury. He still doesn't have much on him. He gave away the 2 magic weapons of light and darkness. He still only has the bell and tripod sword, which is very traditional and classical, representing 3 emotions respectively. Oh, and he also kept a useless tentacle battle suit. Is it the 4th emotion? After all, no matter how rich you are, you can't have everything. No matter how much Zelter collects, there are still many deficiencies in immortal things. As he said, they are relatively rough, and the technology direction is actually very average. Especially for some special items, it depends on luck. Not everything can be collected. The most all-encompassing is the dragon domain, which really has everything. Although even the dragon domain does not really have everything, because when it reaches a certain level of high end, it is not something that can be collected conventionally, and it requires luck. For example, the dragon god can never take out the complete remains of the holy demon. That is not something that can be done normally. It is already very remarkable to be able to collect a finger. Of course, that kind of request is too much. Normally, the rich little dragon man can really take out anything. If he can't take it out, he can go home and get it. He is really Doraemon. After hearing the master's intention, Xia Guixuan took out 2 tattered small strips of cloth very readily. This is called the I'm dead strip, also called a waist struggle. As long as you hang it around your waist, others will see you as a zombie, including your breath, and everything else will turn into death. Now I think your things are not rare, and the names are more magical than one another. Xia Guixuan took the strip of cloth and tried to hang it on his body. Sure enough, the breath turned into death. As for whether it is a zombie in the eyes of others, it is unknown. Xia Guixuan said, Master, this kind of thing still requires a certain amount of acting skills. Xia Guixuan agreed deeply. It's like my sister changed her appearance and I didn't recognize her, but she was exposed because of her poor acting skills. How should I act? It depends on the nature of the dead world you go to, whether it is a zombie or a zombie. If it is a zombie, it should be like this. Xia Guixuan slumped her waist and walked forward slowly step by step, like this. Xia Guixuan, if it is a zombie, it should be like this. Xia Guixuan raised her hands and started jumping. Xia Guixuan said, I choose to fight in. Yao nodded hurriedly. She breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that Xia Guixuan really wanted to jump with her in the dead world. Forget about death. Xia Guixuan's eyes rolled around, and she could see that the master wanted to save face, and the former queen also wanted to save face. Both of them couldn't act so stupidly, so wouldn't this give the smart Xia Long room to perform again? Master, how about this? I'll go with you guys, I'll do the fighting, you just keep quiet. Xia Guixuan didn't understand why keeping quiet would stop him from jumping, but thinking about how this little girl was used to traveling around the world and had more experience than himself, it would be easier to get things done with her. He nodded and said, okay, you lead the team, Yao and I will follow you. The little girl was ecstatic. Master, wait a minute, I'll go change my clothes. After that, she disappeared with a whoosh. Xia Guixuan, after a moment, a majestic ghost dragon appeared in the sky. Stupid living beings. Before she could finish her words, she was grabbed down by Xia Guixuan and pressed into the system base. Yao glanced at her and couldn't help but say, Master, don't you like to act cute, looking for sex scenes in adult movies and seeking plots in adult movies? This is human nature. Yao finally laughed. Then am I an adult or an adult? Xia Guixuan glanced at her and refused to answer the question. The so-called death world, like the flame demon world, has many types. Humans have a concept of the negative universe in their study of the universe. Everything is the opposite of the main universe and is a projection. For example, the universe is dark and is illuminated by stars, while the negative universe is bright and is darkened by stars. This is just a guess and has not been confirmed. Another example is that living beings are not living things, but all dead people. The word itself is opposite to living beings. This almost does not need to be confirmed, it must be so. The netherworld in myths and legends mostly refers to this kind of realm, but there is a problem here. Any 3 realms are corresponding, the living and the dead are related, and which living plane does each death world in the universe correspond to? If there is no correspondence, does it mean that in any world without the underworld, people will be in any death world after death? Or, even if you are not dead, there is a projection of you, just like you in a parallel plane? This is much more mysterious than those fire elemental planes, much more difficult to understand, and much more ethereal and difficult to find. Xia Guixuan had wandered around the 10,000 worlds for quite a while, but he had never seen this kind of plane. He didn't expect that there was a node leading to this kind of plane in the area of the market star. Even if he wasn't looking for the remains of the holy demon, he was interested in exploring this kind of plane. In addition, the eyes of the holy demon's remains were there, so it was a place he had to go. This couldn't be done like sending a team to the flame demon realm before, where they had to go in person. He also had to figure out why the thousand-edged fantasy realm skipped this kind of place. Were they afraid of this kind of plane, or was it because this kind of plane had its own special characteristics that made the thousand-edged fantasy realm unable to cross over? Or was it even part of the thousand-edged fantasy realm itself? Xia Guixuan thought of the nature of the dragon domain. In a sense, was the thousand-edged fantasy realm like a negative projection of the dragon clan? There was an inside taste, but when he proposed it, the dragon god didn't comment, so he didn't know what it thought specifically. Regardless of what it thought, Xia Guixuan was very interested in these things. The myriad unsolved mysteries in the universe have always been the driving force for the cultivators to seek truth and knowledge. Just after passing through the boundary membrane and stepping into another dimension, the first reaction was darkness. It was not completely dark, but gray and dark. There was no light, but there were always some phosphorescent lights scattered in the void, barely becoming a kind of light source. But there were no stars or moon in the sky, let alone the sun. The sky was like a completely dark curtain, as if someone had drawn a black curtain on it. It was depressing, and people wanted to run like crazy at first sight and break through this suffocating place. The second reaction was cold. It was not the temperature of the snowy mountains, but the cold, chilly, penetrating into the soul, just like seeing the cold eyes of the murderer, shivering all over, with cold sweat and goosebumps. Behind him was also chilly, as if a vent was torn into his clothes, and something was rubbing his back, cold and cold. Xia Guixuan turned his head suddenly, and there was a dead ghost standing behind him, staring at him woodenly with lifeless eyes. There were still traces of blood under his eyes, as if he was filled with resentment from a recent death. Yao Wu hid the lightning in his eyes, and a shadow knife had already gathered in his hand. Chapter 354, Lost, Broken Head City. There was a whistling sound in the sky, and the majestic ghost dragon descended above the ghost and asked coldly, "Why are you wandering here, unexpectedly?" The ghost dragon, which should belong to the advanced group in this kind of dead world and ghost world, should have scared the ghost so much that he trembled and immediately told everything clearly. However, the ghost stared at the ghost dragon with a confused look on his face. "What kind of creature are you, pretending to be big here, Xia Guixuan?" Xia Guixuan couldn't believe it. "You, a low-level species, don't even know the noble dragon," the ghost said coldly. "Dragons are huge skeletal creatures. What kind of weird species are you? Fuck you." Xia Guixuan transmitted a message to Xia Guixuan. "It's confirmed. This is a low-level dead world, Xia Guixuan." No wonder Xia Guixuan came to such a conclusion. Just as ghosts are definitely a little higher than skeleton soldiers, ghost dragons with ghost bodies are obviously higher than bone dragons with pure skeletons, which means that in addition to the power of bones, they also have a certain degree of soul power and magic. This ghost only knows bone dragons but not ghost dragons, which shows that the level of this realm is indeed average and not enough to derive ghost dragons. But a low-end realm actually has an eye of a holy demon body? There is no body of this level in the main universe. It feels like a divine weapon is placed in a rotten wooden box, and it feels wrong. If it is a low-end realm, such low-level ghosts rarely have this level of intelligence. Generally, they will wander blindly, not knowing who they are, and only resentment or obsession is left. But the one in front of him has a clear mind. If it is a dead spirit in a low-level realm, it is probably in the middle of the food chain. Xia Guixuan can also feel that if this ghost is measured according to his own system, it looks like it is in the early stage of Tengayan, which is indeed not easy. Such a ghost, wandering here alone? What is it doing? Xia Guixuan looked at Xia Guixuan and asked her to continue asking. "We agreed that we would keep silent and you would communicate." Xia Guixuan sniffed. Bai changed into a fancy coat, but instead of pretending to be fancy, he was considered a freak. He was so angry that he took off the ghost dragon coat and turned back into Little Dragon. She jumped and looked at the ghost tentatively. The ghost nodded. It turns out to be a low-level zombie. Why are you pretending to be a soul dragon? What are you doing here? Xia Guixuan almost wanted to strangle it to death, and jumped again with a humiliated look. We are just passing by and got lost. Where is this? Lost? A trace of confusion flashed across the ghost's eyes, and he murmured, who is not lost? Xia Guixuan narrowed his eyes slightly. Xia Guixuan asked curiously, so you don't know where this is, right? The ghost looked up at the sky and whispered to himself, this is the place leading to the living world. Xia Guixuan and Yao Wu didn't think there was anything special about this, but Xia Guixuan was shocked. Everyone has a different perspective. Just like the ancients thought that the sky was round and the earth was square, and later they thought that they were the center of the universe, the cognition of life in other planes also started from this central perspective. In the past, the mushrooms on Mushroom Star thought that the entire universe was mushrooms. A pure dead world would not have the cognition of life at all. They would think that they were living beings, and the place they were in was the normal world, and the things in the world were made up of bones and ghosts. And this ghost, Tengayan, has actually recognized that there is another plane, and has the concept of living world. Is this really just an ordinary ghost? Not a high-level one? The ghost said this, but it seemed to be affected by something, and his eyes became blank again, as if he had forgotten what he had said just now, and said in confusion, oh, you are lost. Going forward is the Broken Hut City, and you will get there after more than 30,000 jumps. Xia Guixuan, thank you. He was a zombie, and he had to jump down even if he cried. Xia Guixuan jumped and hopped thousands of times, and finally left this place that made people cry. Wow, it's not fair. Why do I have to jump all the way? But master doesn't have to. I don't know why I can stop jumping if I don't speak. I'm still waiting for your explanation, because her breath has been seamlessly integrated with a dead world. As long as you don't say a word, low-level undead can't even sense your existence, but I don't think this one is too low-level. I don't know, its intelligence seems to be sometimes good and sometimes bad. Everyone turned their heads to look, and at the end of their sight, the ghost was still wandering alone in the same place, looking up at the sky from time to time. Why, do you feel a little pitiful for it? Xia Guixuan stopped jumping and whispered, Master, is it from the world of the living and wants to go back? Xia Guixuan said, it must have something to hold on to. Even if it forgets, it still subconsciously wanders, feeling that it is looking for something. It's a pity that the world of the living we come from may not be its world of the living. You and I don't even know where it corresponds to. Xia Guixuan was silent. Yao Wu suddenly said, it should have accidentally seen someone break through the upper realm from here, thus opening up some vague memories. Others don't know this. The so-called Headless City is close at hand, but no one is guarding this weak point of the realm. Only it patrols here day and night, Xia Guixuan said, so the one who broke through the upper realm was not the invader you imagined, otherwise there should be a base here, not so empty. Yao Wu shook her head and said, I know very well that the soul came for the remains of the holy demon. And he acted recklessly, slaughtering living beings and sacrificing the dead, so I killed him and wiped out his consciousness. If they didn't invade the base, then it is more likely to be a personal act. Maybe this person thought he found a breakthrough, but ended up running into the gates of hell. Xia Guixuan nodded, agreeing with her judgment. Yao Wu is not an ordinary person. Her judgment can often be used directly as truth. Yao Wu added, this ghost has a concept of the living world, so at least it can be proved that the dead here are not born naturally, but have some kind of response, and are not parallel projections. They are real dead people. Xia Guixuan's expression became solemn, and there is actually a city here, with managers. Let's go and see the so-called Broken Hut City. Xia Guixuan almost cried, do I really have to jump 30,000 steps? Xia Guixuan picked her up and disappeared. Yao Wu turned around and looked, and the soul was still wandering. The so-called Broken Hut City does not have a city wall, but is just a natural settlement city. The residents in the city are not the headless corpses that Xia Guixuan imagined based on the literal meaning, but the opposite. There are only heads. The three of them stared in amazement at the heads flying in the sky one by one. Some were just wandering around, and some were actually practicing. Various strange thoughts can be vaguely detected. Where's my body? No. What is a body? We just look like this. No. Why do those souls and zombies have bodies? Idiot. You also know that they are souls and zombies, but we are not. Look at those corpse worms. They are still wriggling. Why don't you learn? That's right. Similar conversations have been floating around here for who knows how many years, becoming a kind of greeting similar to hello, have you eaten? Then there really live. Xia Guixuan watched ahead with something in its mouth delivering goods everywhere. Please check the blood maggots you ordered. I'll give you a phosphorus fire. Xia Guixuan was also stunned. They can still eat. What did they swallow? Xia Guixuan, directly digested the practice and turned it into energy. Hey, where did that jumping zombie come from? Pay the city entry tax. The three turned their heads and saw a human head nearby, glaring at them. We have seen many zombies who secretly evaded taxes by staring at the grand occasion in our city. According to the law, you have to pay double the tax when you enter the city with your whole body. Don't think about sneaking in by taking off your head. Who wants to sneak in by taking off their head? Hey. Recommend a book starting to become a disciple of Sanxing Cave, a plan to pretend to be a sword fairy and catch a monkey. But unexpectedly, this catch made him the only true disciple of Sanxing Cave. Let's see how Qin Yun plays the journey to the west and creates a legend belonging to the sword ancestor. Chapter 355. They had paid the city entry tax in full to you soon. Honestly, 2 phosphorus fires per person. This phosphorus fire does not refer to the ghost fire floating in the air, but specifically refers to a kind of blue sparks that flicker faintly on the bones. It is not a physical flame, and has no temperature, but an immortal soul fire. For these ghost cultivators, it has the effect of absorbing and utilizing to enhance their cultivation, just like those skeletons. Whoever has the most phosphorus fire in his eyes represents the stronger soul, and has a certain chance of evolving and becoming Skeleton King. In short, it cannot cross species and cannot become a bone dragon. Therefore, it has become a universal currency, which is the case in many dead worlds. Xia Guixuan brought some here on purpose, and it really worked. Xia Guixuan also felt that it was really useful to bring this lolly with him. Not everyone can be so knowledgeable. After collecting the tax, the head's attitude became better, and he squeezed out a smile. Don't make trouble when you enter the city. People are not very friendly to pregnant people, you know. In fact, no matter whether the attitude is good or not, just looking at a HUD smiling at you is an extremely creepy feeling, especially this kind of HUD is not a regular face, often with bloodstains and the like, which looks even more terrifying. Xia Guixuan felt uneasy, and asked with all her might, where should we go to stay at the inn? The head made a strange movement, stiffened slightly, and tilted to the right. Then it frowned slightly, as if it had forgotten something. A trace of confusion flashed in its eyes, but it quickly recovered and pursed its lips and said, there are inns in the east of the city, thank you. Xia Guixuan skipped away, not wanting to say a word to it. Instead, Xia Guixuan and Yao Wu were secretly communicating behind them. Yao Wu was saying, what does its strange behavior just now mean? Xia Guixuan said, I subconsciously wanted to point away, but I found that I had no hands. Yao Wu was stunned and silent. Xia Guixuan's judgment was the most accurate, but this accurate judgment made people feel a little uncomfortable. Fortunately, everyone is not an ordinary person. 2 emperors, 2 taking. At most, they sighed for such things, but they wanted to get to the bottom of it and solve the mystery more than sympathize. Why did such a world come into being, such special life, where did they come from? But then again, feeling a little uncomfortable is already a manifestation of kindness. Xia Guixuan was a little surprised by Yao Wu's silence. Whether it was the former queen seen in the documentary or the queen who was later recognized as a combination of evil thoughts, it seemed that they did not have this attribute. Yao Wu said, why is there an inn here? Xia Guixuan said, I want to know too. Soon they knew. A vast expanse of graves appeared in front of them. Outside the graves were food stalls, and countless people were drinking and making noise outside. Seeing Xia Guixuan jumping over, a head floated forward. Do you want to stay in a hotel or have a meal? Xia Guixuan felt uneasy. What do you mean by stay in a hotel? The head rolled its eyes and pointed at the grave mound. Lie down in it. What else can you say? Xia Guixuan, what do you mean by eat? The head spit out a list. The freshest maggots, the tenderest rotten meat, the thickest blood wine. Oh, there are also game. The scorpions and centipedes are all caught today. And the toxins are guaranteed to be fresh and stimulating. Xia Guixuan looked at the things on the diner's table with a stiff neck. Her eyes rolled back, and she almost vomited. Xia Guixuan couldn't help but telepathically transmitted his thoughts. I see you don't have much experience. I've seen this scene in the underworld. I just haven't seen these grave mound inns. It's quite interesting. Who likes to watch such scenes? How can it be fun? I'm not a pervert, okay, I am. Xia Guixuan jumped a little, attracting the attention of the waiter. Are there many people staying here? Of course. The waiter then discovered that there was a jumping zombie. Xia Guixuan asked, do the local population also need accommodation? Are there many outsiders here? Aren't you guys? The waiter looked at him with contempt. There are so many lost people, wandering everywhere, don't they need a place to rest? Besides, there are many who travel around to practice and look for treasures. Our Broken Hood City is a thoroughfare. Xia Guixuan jumped again. Are there any famous secret places nearby? It's been so many years, and the bottom has been turned upside down. If you have any brains, you know that there will be no fortune in such a gathering place, but you always like to run to the city, aren't you fools? So, people can't have too many other accessories. A single head is much smarter. Having other parts will drag down the intelligence. Teach me. Then get us a room, regarding the fact that a big zombie took a lolly zombie to get a room. The waiter stared at Xia Guixuan with extreme contempt for a long time. At money, Xia Guixuan asked curiously, what's that expression on your face? You are just a head. Do you have that kind of consciousness? How did you do that? Nose. Xia Guixuan turned her head away, unable to bear to look, and Yao Wu also covered her face in secret. At the beginning, this guy was unyielding and said that he would rather fight all the way and then jump around like a zombie. Now, not only is he jumping more happily than anyone else, he is also quite happy chatting and driving. What did the figurine say? I have never seen such a boring taking. The waiter was stunned for a long time by the question, looking like he wanted to scratch his head but had no hands, and finally said blankly, oh, right, what is that kind of thing? Why do I think you should be despite? That's right, it doesn't make sense, right? Xia Guixuan snatched the phosphorus fire from the little lolly's hand and slapped it on the stone table. There is no more extra money, come, give me a room upstairs. Xia Guixuan looked at the empty palms and considered for the first time whether to betray his master. Looking at the underground cave opened by the waiter leading to the grave, the cold wind blew. Xia Guixuan was already considering whether to run away. The next moment, her collar was lifted up and she was carried into the underground cave by her master. Bang! The door closed. Xia Guixuan looked at the grave inside and cried, I don't want it, I don't want to be in such a place for the first time. There were candles next to the grave, real cave, room, flower candles. Xia Guixuan ignored her and turned to Yao Wu and said, what do you feel? Yao Wu whispered, the flow of energy here is very special. The dark sediments, the dead air in it become the nutrients for their existence, just like air to mortals. Dark energy is also their main energy for cultivation, the fundamental support of various magic, but they have their own subdivisions of dark energy, just like crude oil is divided into different uses, flowing in the air and absorbed and used by different practitioners. The chief expert of real dark energy, in a sense, he can also be regarded as a negative universe god. There are indeed countless categories of dark energy subdivisions, just like what Yao Wu herself uses and what the dead world uses, which are different essences. Xia Guixuan nodded and said, do you feel the forgetting? Yes, the more they absorb the yin qi and the dead qi, the more the memories of the yang world disappear. This is not a law of forgetting in the conventional sense, it is deliberate. Is there anyone guiding this kind of practice? It feels like it, and, Yao Wu was silent for a moment, and said uncertainly, Master, do you feel that, just like the red moon cells, they slowly absorb the energy that everyone here has worked hard to cultivate, and flow to a certain place, so these people think they are practicing every day, but in fact they are standing still day after day, and can never practice to a high level so as not to restore their memory cognition. They can only forget their bodies and their origins, wandering around, living in confusion. Only the subconscious body reactions from time to time prove that they were once a complete person. Yao Wu said slowly, yes, and the hard work of practicing, thinking that it can increase wisdom. In fact, no matter how they practice, all the gains are given to others, and they are always leaks in a cycle. Xia Guixuan was horrified and turned to look at the master blankly. The most common feeling given to people in this dead world is neither horror nor funny, but sad. Chapter 356 Chaotic Soul Abyss, White Bone Mountain. After everyone exchanged opinions, they had a general idea in their hearts, and the atmosphere fell silent. Not only was it silent, Yao Wu also merged into the shadows, as if she didn't exist, letting Xia Guixuan and his apprentice play by themselves. When she had nothing to do, Yao Wu never took the initiative to talk to Xia Guixuan. One reason was her personality, and the other was that she still had hostility towards Xia Guixuan in her heart. She was a captive whose country was destroyed by Xia Guixuan. The so-called surrender was mainly for the future of the original energy tribe. She and Xia Guixuan had a common enemy, and she was also willing to surrender because of his tolerance of not killing or controlling. The combination of many factors did not mean that the resentment and shame of the destruction of the country disappeared all at once. People are not programs, and they are done after they are set. It may take a long time to get along with each other to eliminate the gap, or it may deepen the gap because of the tyrant's unjust behavior. It all depends on the follow-up. Because of this, Yao Wu was worried that her hostility would cause fear, so when Xia Guixuan wanted to train, she silently endured it, just to express that she had no ulterior motives and was willing to obey orders. As long as it does not touch the bottom line of dignity, she is still willing to cooperate with Xia Guixuan to investigate these secrets, not only because these things are also her own curiosity, but also because Xia Guixuan is quite cute. It is not uncomfortable to be around him, as long as people don't advertise with such shameful slogans. Other than that, everyone has nothing to say. Basically, she will respond to whatever Xia Guixuan says. Xia Guixuan also knows that this is a silent horse. It is definitely not true that they are master and servant just because they say master and servant on the surface. If they dare to do insulting things or lewd actions to her, she will dare to resist, unless she is forced. As for that, taking level subordinates should not think about that. It is better to train apprentices. Xia Guixuan was still there, hugging her knees and sobbing, and Xia Guixuan squatted opposite her in a bad mood. What are you thinking about in your head? Xia Guixuan sobbed. I'm afraid, Xia Guixuan said. With a master here, what is there to be afraid of? Yao Wu thought to herself that it is because of a master like you that people are afraid. As a result, Xia Guixuan immediately got into her master's arms. I won't be afraid unless my master hugs me. Yao Wu, what is the relationship between you two, master and disciple? I once treated you as a distinguished foreign guest. How could our zealot not lose? Yao Wu looked at Xia Guixuan with contempt in the shadows. This guy actually hugged the little lolly and refused to let go. Are you almost there? Xia Guixuan did not let go. He felt that Xia Guixuan's body was shaking violently, which was beyond the normal level of fear or disgust. Xia Guixuan is Kainitan, and Kainitan is almost complete. It is not certain whether the mayor of this headless city has Huang or not. Is she afraid? She is still the power of a real dragon, which has a natural suppressing effect on this kind of filth. As a result, she is so scared. Is she deliberately rubbing against the master? Xia Guixuan felt it carefully. It didn't seem like intentional. Xia Guixuan seemed to be really scared. Strange, haven't you been to a place similar to the dead world before? You introduced it to me before. It should be zombies or zombies, and you looked like an expert. If you had said you were so scared, you wouldn't have forced yourself to come. No, Xia Guixuan trembled. I didn't feel anything when I first came here, just a little creepy, which was normal. But when I got into this tomb, I felt more and more scared and sad. Xia Guixuan frowned. Yao Wu also felt that something was wrong. Xia Guixuan's performance was not so exaggerated before. As she said, although it was creepy, it was still tolerable. She was jumping and was quite energetic. Could it be that this dark enclosed space magnified and doubled her psychological experience? It's not that bad. Xia Guixuan tried to cast a lighting spell. The entire bottom of the cave was bright, and Xia Guixuan couldn't help but cover her eyes with discomfort despite her practice. But the trembling of fear finally subsided a little, and she continued to rub against her master's chest a little embarrassedly. Xia Guixuan, master's scent is so nice, the other scents here are so stinky, so don't just focus on smelling the scent first. Can you please explain it more clearly? Is it true that the darkness enclosure deepen your fear? No. Of course, it will be a little better when it's brighter. The key is that master's magic has diluted some of the yin energy. Xia Guixuan thought for a while, and muttered in a low voice, it's not right to say it's fear. It's just palpitations. I always feel like this place is like my guillotine. Xia Guixuan was startled. Don't talk nonsense. I'm not talking nonsense. Xia Guixuan asked Yao Wu, did you feel any signs similar to the fear technique or similar fluctuations in the environment? Yao Wu shook her head. No, that's right. Xia Guixuan didn't feel it either. He originally thought that he was not professional enough in this. He should have been very professional. He was very good at the laws of life and death and the laws of light and darkness. Then Yao Wu, who was more specialized in this, also said no. The two taking confirmed the same thing, so what else was missing? Xia Guixuan was anxious. I really didn't say anything nonsense, not to get close to Master. Yao Wu's heart moved slightly, and whispered, we missed a possibility. Huh? In terms of bloodline, maybe it's related to the Dragon Clan. Xia Guixuan immediately said, Yuxin, try it, use the 9 tricks I taught you. First reflect yourself on the stars, and temporarily break away from the limitations of the dragon's physical body. Xia Guixuan's body flickered slightly, and she felt a little blurry, like a starry sky dragon like the dragon god. Then blinked. The palpitations are really gone. Solve the case. It's really related to the dragon bloodline. I thought Xia Guixuan was here to be a guide, but unexpectedly she became the protagonist. This is the destiny in the dark. Xia Guixuan rubbed Xia Guixuan's head. Everything is afraid of not knowing the reason. As long as you know the problem, it's easy to say. With Master here, this matter will be settled. Don't panic. He paced back and forth a few steps, looked at the grave pit underground, jumped directly, squatted down and pressed the bottom of the pit with his hands. Sure enough, the closer to the ground, the stronger the coldness. The dead must be quite comfortable lying here, but it is undoubtedly more uncomfortable for the living. All kinds of feelings that can be held back outside are magnified here. At the same time, Xia Guixuan's eyes were dim, and the circulation of the underground energy veins in his eyes was like a thread entangled and entangled, with thousands of threads crisscrossing the depths of the ground. The breath of the living, the breath of the dead, the connection of blood, the memory of oblivion. Endless shadows, endless souls. The entanglement of all realms, no one knows where to go. Thousands of threads, all return to the end, at the bottom of an abyss, piled up like a mountain of skeletons, with dragon and snake bodies and tiger wings. A white bone palace stands in the white bone mountain. The palace gate is the skeleton of a dragon head, with a huge mouth, and a hideous appearance, as if it wants to choose someone to devour. This dragon is a little familiar. No wonder you are worried, Xia Guixuan sneered and said to himself, that is the bone of Aoshan. The updates have been slow these days, and the new copy is carefully conceived and not rushed. Speaking of which, Heidi has published a new book, I Am the Immortal in the Pot. Chapter 357 Program Encryption. Aoshan's Bones. Xia Guixuan was so surprised that she forgot to be afraid. Aoshan died on the dragon-slaying platform. The dragon god personally ordered him to be killed. At that time, Aoshan's actions were tantamount to rebellion to the dragon god, and there was no way he could survive. Xia Guixuan didn't pay attention to the subsequent events. Who would ask what happened to the body of the enemy after his death? Conventionally, either the bones were buried, or the bones were crushed and scattered. How could it be possible to come to this place across planes? How many planes did it cross? If you say that the soul went to some underworld, it is understandable, but these are bones? How did it get here? The bones came here, but what about the soul? It can't be that he is not dead at all, but just lives in a different place? Or, Aoshan also lost his memories of the world, and thought he was a local bone dragon, eating carrion, using phosphorus fire, and practicing happily? Xia Guixuan's eyes were a little straight when she thought about it, and she felt that the world was too dreamy. Xia Guixuan retracted his mind and traced back, and said with a smile, it's a pity that Hunun didn't come to this place. It's a good place to practice soul arts. But it's a good thing he didn't come, otherwise he might not be able to resist refining the billion soul banner. There are too many souls here. Xia Guixuan chuckled, Master, you still have time to think about Hunun's practice. As a leader of a force, isn't it normal to consider the future of your subordinates? I am your apprentice. Xia Guixuan put her hands on her hips. Except for throwing the Star Dragon Ninju to me, you haven't given me any other guidance. Xia Guixuan laughed and said, the Star Dragon Ninju is what you want to learn from me, and for me, this is a very important inheritance. What else do you want? I really only have a rough understanding of your professional trade rules. The contract rules are almost the same. I have studied them. Do you want to learn? Xia Guixuan stamped her feet in anger. What kind of situation is this? Do you really think I'm studying? Who has the heart to learn? Where is the warm hug just now? I was too scared just now and didn't experience it well. Woo. Just thinking tragically about how to stick together again, I felt that the master stretched out his hands and hugged me. Xia Guixuan raised her face in surprise. but saw that her master had a gentle look in his eyes. He hugged her and whispered, "You don't have time to practice the 9-star dragon techniques. Now that you are not on the state of emptiness for long, you will be scared again in a while. It's okay, the master is here, you can sleep first, and you will be fine when you wake up." Xia Guixuan's eyes softened instantly, and she blushed and rubbed against her master's arms. "I don't sleep in the grave pit." Xia Guixuan snapped his fingers. A fragrant little bed appeared beside the grave pit, and it was still pink. Xia Guixuan's face flushed. "How do you know what my bed looks like?" "I've been to your room, so you went to my room to see the bed. The bed is right there, it's hard not to see it. You must be thinking about something lewd." Xia Guixuan threw her on the bed, and put his hands on his hips unhappily. "Sleep." Xia Guixuan sat there with the quilt in her arms, pitiful. "I dare not sleep without the master." Yao Wu rolled her eyes in the shadows. "You are crazy." A genuine perfection, hugging the quilt and saying she was going to sleep, and she wanted a man to accompany her, otherwise she would not dare to sleep. The most amazing thing is that the man really sighed and sat over, gently stroked her eyebrows and whispered, "Be good, close your eyes, and you will fall asleep soon. Master, hug me." Yao Wu's eyes rolled back. "Isn't this the same as meditation? What are you doing? Is this what a man and a woman are like? No, is this what a man and a Lolita are like?" But Xia Guixuan saw a soft light blooming in his hands, and Xia Guixuan really fell asleep unknowingly. Xia Guixuan held her upright, put her down, covered her with a quilt, and got up from the bed. Yao Wu exclaimed, "Ah! You are particularly specialized in flesh and blood life, can you detect that her blood is different?" Yao Wu came back to her senses, and looked at Xia Guixuan with a bit of strangeness. "I thought he was a pervert, but it seems that he is a good master who really cares about his apprentice. So warm. It's really weird. No matter how you look at this man's other performances, he doesn't seem to be a warm-hearted man. Did he automatically change his attitude towards his apprentice?" Yao Wu, oh, Yao Wu coughed twice and replied, "If you just look at it, you can't see any problems. If you let me check it carefully, I might be able to find something, but I can't guarantee it." "Then check it out." Xia Guixuan looked very serious. "I suspect there may be some problems with their dragon veins. Yu Sun is spiritual. The first time she pestered me to become her disciple was because she subconsciously felt that my dragon practice could help her break free from the constraints of her bloodline. After coming here today, I can personally draw this conclusion. There is indeed a problem. I need your means to confirm it again." He paused, threw out a portion of divine dragon blood. "This was given to me by the dragon god. Originally, I was going to give it to Mozu to transform his bloodline, but in the end I was worried about problems, so I kept it and didn't dare to give it to him. You can use this for more thorough research." Yao Wu was a little surprised. "With this thing, I can do a thorough study, which will take some time." "Yes. Take your time, don't rush to a conclusion, but I need an absolute answer." "Yes." A drop of blood floated in the air, emitting an eerie glow, powerful and mysterious. Yao Wu pointed a finger at the dragon's blood, probed into his consciousness and began to analyze it. Xia Guixuan did not disturb him. He turned his head to look at the direction of the bone abyss and whispered to himself, "I originally thought that the remains of the holy demon and the mystery of the dragon god were two different things. Now it seems that there is a possibility that they are gradually combined into one thing, or at least there is a connection between the two. Then the finger that the dragon god gave me is meaningful." "Huh?" Yao Wu suddenly withdrew the finger that was pointing at the blood as if he had been electrocuted. Xia Guixuan turned his head suddenly. "What? This?" Yao Wu was a little embarrassed and whispered, "I actually felt a kind of, what?" Yao Wu said uncertainly, "A feeling like data that cannot be analyzed, preventing the core from exploring." Xia Guixuan frowned. "Restriction? It's not a restriction. Yao Wu and the Fox King have merged their bodies, and he is very clear about the concept of immortal restrictions." He shook his head and said, "It's like a hacker invading someone else's computer and discovering encryption." Xia Guixuan widened his eyes. Confronted. The more they confronted, the closer they were to revealing the truth. Xia Guixuan hurriedly asked, "Can you crack it by force? Your taking power is not afraid of a drop of blood, right?" "I am not afraid of counterattacks, but if I force it too much, I may self-destruct." Yao Wu became more and more embarrassed. "Master, give me some more time, I will slowly try, there is always a way, you are taking. I am weak against flesh and blood life, otherwise I would do it myself. As a result, you are taking and can't handle a drop of blood? But then again, If it is really a derivative of digital life, it is not surprising that Yao cannot crack it. Zelter's technology is just like that. This is because Yao has a considerable degree of scientific and technological cognition. She has played this set herself and combined it with the core system and soul of the Jimeo star, so she can explain and understand it in this direction. If a cultivator from the Eastern Emperor realm in his hometown saw this thing, he would probably be confused and think it was some kind of supreme restriction that was difficult to comprehend. In other words, if Yao can't solve it, then no one he knows can solve it. Yao is the most suitable person to solve this matter. But maybe she needs to be assigned an assistant, such as Luo Wei? Then keep it for now. It won't be too late for us to study it after leaving this world. Now let's take a look at the problems in this world. Xia Guixuan didn't hesitate, but comforted Yao. We still have a lot of time. Yao glanced at him, and replied yes with some surprise, and returned the blood to him. Xia Guixuan pushed it back. Why do you give it back to me? You keep it for your own research at any time. Can't you ask me for it from time to time? Yao was silent. Do you really not think I will betray you? But it must be admitted that it is indeed comfortable to get along with such a broad mind. Xia Guixuan patted her shoulder. As long as you and I are of one mind, I believe that there is nothing in this world that cannot be done. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358, The Bad-Tempered Ghost. Yao shrank his shoulders silently. I don't know if Xia Guixuan said this to show his favor and win back his heart. As a former queen, she herself is very skilled in saying this kind of thing. But she still felt that Xia Guixuan didn't need to do it, and he didn't seem like someone who would say such things on purpose. After all, he was so bad that he made people pinch his feet and let people die in public to advertise. How could he be deliberately showing goodwill? It is more likely that he really felt that way. It is true that he has always been very casual and doesn't pretend. But this casual pat on the shoulder is too casual. Do you really think that every woman wants to stick to you like your apprentice? In any case, Yao felt that her hostility and hatred towards him were indeed getting less and less, because she really couldn't feel that he had any hateful attributes. If the premise was changed, everyone might become a good Taoist friend or a respected god. It's a pity that he has become like this, a humiliated captive and servant. She sighed, silently put away her yuanxu, and whispered, if we leave this world to study again, what should we do now? Xia Guixuan glanced around. Dark cave, closed space. A single man and a single woman. Xia along on the bed is not considered a human. What should we do? Yao took another half step back calmly. We are here to find the remains of the holy demon, the eye, Xia Guixuan said, but I traced back with my divine sense just now and saw the white bone palace, but I didn't sense any signs of the eye inside. It's also because I didn't probe my divine sense into the palace, and I didn't want people to discover my spying. But the eye in this palace may not be in the same place, we still need to investigate, Yao said. The white bone palace itself is the biggest clue. If we go directly to the door. Is the owner afraid of alerting the enemy? Yes. If we go blindly to the door, if it's not the same place, and someone else somewhere else finds out that something has happened, and destroys the eye or runs away with it, where can we find it next time? Isn't it because of this that we pretended to be zombies and ran in to investigate the situation? Don't forget the original intention because of an episode. Then, Yao pondered for a moment and said, we need to find someone who has been to the White Bone Palace to ask about the situation, at least someone who has seen a bone dragon. The two looked at each other and felt that the world is really wonderful. The wandering ghost who asked for directions when he first came here was obviously someone who had seen a bone dragon. Yao immediately stood up. I'll go find it and ask it questions. Xia Guixuan nodded, sat down on the bed again, and looked down at Yuxuan's sleeping face. Yao flashed away, not noticing the slight gloom on Xia Guixuan's face. This kind of dragon vein problem may be a problem rooted in the genes, which may explode at an unknown time and is difficult to solve. On the surface, take it slow, no rush, but in fact, it is very worrying, because this hidden danger may explode at any time, not only to Xia Guixuan, but also to the entire dragon domain. It doesn't matter whether there are problems in the dragon domain, but Xia Guixuan must not have any problems. Since the Dao Road was re-established, Xia Guixuan has taken his emotions seriously and would not be willing to let his only little apprentice suffer any unexpected consequences. This is the case when attacking the holy mountain of the Dragon Clan, and it is also the same when exploring the Abyss of Bones. At least this time, in this realm of life and death, I will try to make you break through the Wu Xiang, so that you can at least have some room for self-protection. If you don't achieve Yang Shen, when problems arise, even if you are right next to me, I may not be able to rescue you in time. I feel uneasy, as if he could sense Xia Guixuan's whisper. The little face in his sleep showed a sweet smile, and his face was as red as a little apple. Master, Yu Wu appeared behind him, looking at his back with a complicated expression, and whispered, "The person is here." Xia Guixuan turned his head, and the ghost was held in Yu Wu's hand at a loss. He wanted to struggle but was powerless, and his twitching looked a little cute. Xia Guixuan couldn't help laughing. "You just ask someone to question you like this," Yu Wu said lightly. "Being able to let me bring you here is an invitation in itself." Xia Guixuan laughed. "That's true." The ghost was shocked and angry. "Who are you, and what do you want to do?" "Huh?" Xia Guixuan looked at it in surprise. "Do you have an official position here or something?" The ghost said angrily. "No. I'm just a wandering soul." "Wouldn't a wandering soul tremble when it was caught in a secret room?" "Why should I tremble? Your shock and anger have a bit of aura. Either you have a certain status here, or you were a big shot when you were alive." Xia Guixuan touched his chin. "You should have a certain status, otherwise how could an ordinary ghost see a bone dragon, when he was alive?" The ghost's eyes flashed with confusion, and he paused for a moment before he regained his clarity. The abyss of chaotic souls, the mountain of bones, and wandering souls everywhere. What's so strange about seeing a bone dragon? In other words, you really came from that place. So what? Do you know who is in the palace? They are all powerful souls. How do I know who is who? The atmosphere was awkward for a moment. Yu Wu couldn't help but ask, "You don't have a king?" "Yes, but I haven't seen one." "What's the point of asking me? Is it because of your bad temper, or are all ghosts like this?" Yu Wu sneered. "I'm afraid it's because of your bad temper and ignorance of the times that you were chopped to death and turned into a ghost." As he spoke, the iron right arm wanted to stretch out, trying to teach the stinky ghost a lesson. Before he even touched it, he saw that the ghost suddenly held his head in pain and uttered a shrill ghost cry. Yu Wu was stunned and subconsciously stopped his hand. The ghost made a very humane gesture of pressing his head with both hands, wailing and struggling hard, and the screams of the soul echoed in the darkness, with extreme pain and misery. Xia Guixuan stretched out his finger. Soul calming technique. The ghost finally calmed down slowly, whispering like a gasp. "Thank you." He actually said thank you. "How many times have you said that I was alive, was killed, and similar related words?" "Do you know my origins?" Xia Guixuan and Yu Wu looked at each other again, not knowing whether it would trigger any dimensional taboos if they said directly, "You are from the world of the living in another plane." Xia Guixuan flicked his fingers to create a time and space barrier, covering the crypt. Taboos are basically meaningless to people like them. Seeing Xia Guixuan's actions, the ghost's trembling slowly improved, as if Xia Guixuan's isolation also allowed it to break away from some dimensional restrictions. The state of forgetting and not forgetting, like remembering but not remembering, seemed to have gained some solidity, and had a little cognition. "Yes, I remember. I remember some fragments. I shouldn't be such a creature. I have blood, flesh. Yes, I also have a mechanical hand," the ghost muttered in a low voice, and slowly fell silent. The silence was more sad than the ghost's cry. "Because I knew I was dead." It slowly curled up into a ball, squatting in a corner of the dungeon, the bloodstains at the corners of its eyes becoming more distinct. I could vaguely hear it mumbling, "Luo Wei." Chapter 359, No Way to Retreat. Xia Guixuan was stunned after hearing this. But the cyborg Luo Wei is clearly alive. What happened to this dead Luo Wei? Xia Guixuan took a deep breath and asked in a low voice, "Have you been in the abyss of chaos soul since you were born?" "Yes," Luo Wei's ghost said blankly, "it has been there since I became conscious. Countless souls are wandering around, and no one knows what they are doing. Then they gradually get used to it, live a normal life, and practice. Some people have ambitions and want to enter the castle, while some people have no interest and drift outside." Yu Wu was very surprised. "No one cares about you. There's a king, but he has never issued any orders. Instead, he spreads the practice method so that everyone can practice well. Then what if you fight each other or something like that? No one cares." "What about rebellion?" Everyone knows the situation, okay? Who can withstand the power of the bone dragon? Everyone can also feel the king's divine power. He suppresses everything that dares not raise its head, and how can you rebel? Xia Guixuan had a bottom line in his heart. The ruler of this place should be practicing the method of cutting leeks, and he has no desire to rule or manage. He is a typical ghost practitioner who is determined to pursue eternal life. It is even less likely that there is lust, but even the desire to torture, slaughter, and destroy is not seen. The daily peaceful appearance is a bit strange. It is not reasonable that the cultivators of the demonic and ghost ways are so indifferent. No. Xia Guixuan suddenly asked, is there such a city with human heads, and a city without heads? Luo Wei's ghost said, yes. The two cities are almost at the two corners of this world, and the abyss of chaotic souls lies in the middle. It is basically impossible for the two sides to meet. The waiter in the city of broken heads also said that this is a thoroughfare for all directions. It's just a bunch of human heads, with low cultivation, no hands or feet. Where can they fly? The world around them is their world. Yao Wu glanced at Xia Guixuan, and Xia Guixuan was also looking at her. They both sighed. Watching others' heads and bodies separated, lonely souls wandering, thousands of souls crying, and not knowing where they came from. Is this itself a perverted satisfaction of the desire for torture? Xia Guixuan seemed to be able to see a sneer, looking at the numb ghosts of the whole world, the heads that can't find a body, the bodies that can't find the head, excited and twisted. It doesn't need to do anything, it is already satisfied. It is basically certain, the eye should be in the central abyss, which not only looks at the whole world, but also is the core point for absorbing billions of ghosts to practice. It should not be anywhere else. Yao Wu whispered, Master, do you want to go? If Xia Guixuan was interested in exploring the entire dead world, he really lost interest in sightseeing after being discovered one after another about Xia Guixuan and Luo Wei. All puzzles must be solved by going straight to the center. Who is still interested in studying the customs of this world? How did Ao Shan's corpse get here? What is the reason for Xia Guixuan's throbbing? What's going on with Luo Wei's soul? Why is there still a Luo Wei alive? Only exploring a single world, but I have discovered so many secrets of the people around me. This place is really surprising and worth coming to. You too. Luo Wei's ghost hesitated for a moment, and finally said, I have answered several of your questions. Yes, then shouldn't you answer a few of my questions too? Xia Guixuan laughed dumbly. If a stranger is so ignorant that he is ignorant of the current affairs, he really wants to beat it, but it is Luo Wei's words that it feels normal. We don't know what you want to ask, and I can't even determine whether your identity is as I think. But someone must know. Do you want to ask it? Luo Wei's ghost said wonderingly. Of course. Who? The owner of the White Bone Palace, the king of this world. The ghost widened his eyes, subconsciously floated back, but found that he was already in the corner of the wall and had no way to retreat. Xia Guixuan had a meaningful meaning. Don't you think that you have no place to retreat? If you advance, the clouds will clear and the moon will brighten, and if you retreat, you will wander for a lifetime. You will choose yourself. The ghost was stunned, and there was a ghost fire in his eyes. You didn't have the slightest resistance to Yao Wu. You knew we were much stronger than you, but you still dared to question us angrily, which shows that you are not afraid of death. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, by the way, what's the difference between you and death now? The ghost began to tremble slightly, whispering to himself, yes, I'm already dead. Then, do you dare to go with us and ask your king in person? The jumping zombies stopped jumping. Xia Guixuan held his little apprentice. Yao Wu picked up Luo Wei's ghost, and the two of them flashed directly in the direction of the White Bone Palace. In a moment, they were facing the abyss of chaos souls. It was an endless natural chasm, and the darkness below was endless. The green phosphorus flickered slightly at the bottom of the abyss, like a deep sea. There are mountains in the sea, made of bones, stretching for thousands of miles, and it is unknown how wide it is. It's actually quite beautiful, Xia Guixuan said. If you look from a distance, Yao Wu rolled his eyes at him. In the far distance, there was a white glow, which looked boundless. Of course, it looked beautiful at first glance. But what about being there? What was that? It was full of piles of dead bones, and various skulls piled up into mountains. Could that be a place that people would find beautiful? The so-called palace sounds very big, but in fact, in this endless abyss in 10,000 miles of Bone Mountain, it was just a small mountain top in the center. Xia Guixuan still did not rush in blindly. He quietly hid the figures of everyone and looked at the edge first. If the previous observation was to understand the situation of this world, then the observation at this time was war preparation. Xia Guixuan did not fight a blind battle without knowing the enemy. This dead world was not too big. At least not like the Shenlong world, which was a universe in itself, and even had countless stars. This was just a world with a round sky and a square earth, so it had edges and a center. But it was still much larger than the Yanmo world at the beginning. The scale of the Yanmo world could only be regarded as a part of this world, at most. Therefore, the Flame Demon realm can only produce a Flame Demon King who is at the perfect stage of Kaianun or even at the initial stage of Wuxiang, and it is impossible to be higher. But this death realm even has Wuxiang's corpses naturally, and it is very likely that there are more than one. It is difficult to predict what level their king is. Maybe everyone's movements are always under its observation. After all, it is the controller of the realm. It is theoretically difficult for all changes in the realm to escape its observation. It is unknown how much value everyone's cover-up has. However, according to Xia Guixuan's own experience, no one is full in full. Pay attention to the affairs of the entire realm all the time. It is more likely to leave it to others to take charge, and one person will enter meditation and retreat, and 1,000 years will pass outside. There are many skeletons on the edge of the bone mountain. The most basic white bones are gathered together, and there are few phosphorescent lights in the empty eye sockets to show that they have souls. But they rarely speak, have no functions, and are of very low level. They are basically human-shaped objects that can move made of bones. No, not only human-shaped, but also other creatures, each spliced into the shape of bones in life, as if they know by inertia that they should look like this. Of course, there are still some that cannot be put together. Xia Guixuan looked at a skeleton tumbling around on the bone mountain, and the following wave of thoughts echoed in his mind. Where are my ribs? Where are my ribs? Chapter 360, Dragon Tomb is difficult to understand. Why some are bones here, some are zombies, some are separated from their heads, and some are wandering souls. Some came from the dragon realm, such as Aoshan, and some came from other planes, such as Luowei. Obviously, there were ordinary humans and monks from other planes, and judging from the skeletons, there were also demons. What were the corresponding and ingestion methods? Did they go through a judgment similar to the 6 reincarnations? What kind of channels did they come from? Xia Guixuan observed for a long time and did not find any new skeletons. This did not mean that the additions stopped. The greater probability meant that this was not an automatic addition, but a manual operation every once in a while. After consulting Luowei's ghost, the answer was indeed as expected. Yes, new bones and souls will appear every once in a while. Everyone was very surprised at first, but then they got used to it and said that this was the natural way for creatures in this world to evolve. Xia Guixuan said, since everyone has been brainwashed and become demented, forgetting everything in the past, why do you always seem to retain a touch of spiritual light? I see that your practice is also very ordinary. I don't know. I always feel that there is a concept in the dark that I don't belong here, so you wander that place day and night. Yes. It's as if that's where I should go, but it's empty and there's nothing. I don't know what's going on. I can only wander around there day and night. Do you know when the next new bones will be born? I don't know. Irregularly, Xia Guixuan nodded, and was about to continue ascending, when he suddenly heard a hoarse friction hissing sound in his ears, as if it was the sound of bones rubbing against each other. Give me back. Give me back my ribs. You ate my ribs? Turning his head, he saw the skeleton that was looking for ribs just now pounced on a tiger-shaped skeleton, which was chewing a bone in its mouth and had already bitten it into pieces. The skeleton wanted to cry desperately, but it seemed that because it had no ability to cry, it made an extremely unpleasant friction sound, which was extremely creepy to hear. With its crying and howling, the skeleton pounced on it like crazy and wrestled with the tiger-shaped skeleton. But how could it beat a complete tiger? It took a moment for the tiger to smash it to pieces, and the skull rolled to the ground alone, with a phosphorescent fire in its eyes desperately watching the tiger continue to gnaw on its other bones. The phosphorescent fire became dimmer and dimmer, and finally on the verge of despair. Looking at this scene, you can know how this mountain of unclaimed bones was formed. They are all skeletons that should have souls, but were killed again, and those that were bitten and broken, scattered and formed. How many people should have died to form this 10,000 miles of continuous bones? It is impossible to estimate. It can be seen that the tiger skeleton did not grow stronger by slaughtering its kind, which was different from the situation of devouring each other in the flame demon realm. It seemed that it just retained the original desire to gnaw, and the practice and energy growth were not provided by this. So no one cared about such fights, and other skeletons would not attack each other because of the need for practice. After everyone gradually became familiar with their own situation, they all silently divided their personal action areas and practiced on their own. The method of practice was innate when they were born. Xia Guixuan shook his head slightly. A twisted and weird world. That's right, this is the world of the dead, not the living. He took a last look at the skull whose phosphorus fire was about to extinguish, and was about to leave. A gloomy wind blew from nowhere, and it seemed that a soul whispered into the skeleton's dying soul, "Die now? You have no future." The phosphorus fire shook slightly. "There are countless bones on this mountain. Can't you put them back together by yourself? You have to use the original one. Are you stupid? What if the body is scattered? This soul is immortal. Just create a broken body. As long as you can put together a stronger body, what does that tiger count for?" The cold power was injected into the soul, and the phosphorus fire gradually became stronger. The skull slowly turned, but no one knew who was helping it. With this help, it regained its strength. It saw a spine nearby, rolled over, and put it together by itself. It was not a spine, but a snake bone. So it became a snake body and a human head, and for some reason it felt like it was moving towards the mysterious side. Thank you for your advice." The skull tried hard to transmit the thought. But it didn't know who it was transmitted to, and there was no sound around. In the shadows, Xia Guixuan looked at Yao Wu beside him curiously. Yao Wu knelt in midair and bowed her head, saying, "I acted on my own, which may lead to the enemy discovering us. Please punish me, Master. You think I can't stop you? I didn't stop you, I just didn't object, so why should I punish you? We might be discovered. If it's discovered, so what? We explore to have an idea, but it doesn't mean we are afraid of it and can do whatever we want." Xia Guixuan smiled and said, "Get up. I didn't expect you to be so soft-hearted." "Thank you, Master." Yao Wu stood up and was silent for a moment, then whispered, "I am the former Archbishop of Light, not a pure Emperor. Your perception of me is mixed with a lot of the results of the fusion with the evil thoughts of the Fox King." Xia Guixuan nodded and smiled. "Not bad, interesting." Yao Wu whispered, "You the same. I don't even know if you are praising me or mocking me." Yao Wu did not answer. Xia Guixuan said, "Speaking of which, whether I agree or not, you acted without asking a single question, so you should be punished." Yao Wu sighed. "It's reasonable. This kind of behavior should not be allowed to continue. Well, I'll punish you to do another advertisement when you go back." "Yao Wu, you still want to hit me? Are you scared? If you are scared, you will be more obedient in the future." Xia Guixuan continued to walk up. Yao Wu chased after him. "I promise I won't do it again in the future. Can you change the punishment?" Luo Wei's ghost was swung around in Yao Wu's hand, and he almost vomited. "You two dogs and bitches, you really think you are shopping? Do you know where you are? Where is this?" Xia Guixuan in Xia Guixuan's arms suddenly woke up, with a horrified look. My palpitations are getting stronger and stronger, and I can't suppress them even in meditation." Xia Guixuan looked up and saw that he was getting closer and closer to the center of the bone mountain. Various bones began to take on strange shapes. And they were no longer the bones of ordinary creatures, such as humans and tigers in the corners. There are metal or jade bones scattered in the mountain. They are not real metal or jade, but different bones of life, just like many monks have jade-like bones, which means that not all bones of life are made of calcium. Judging from the overall bone template, there are strange big-headed aliens, winged tigers, and of course dragons. A lot of dragons. The higher you go, the more dragon-shaped bones there are. There are eastern dragons, and western big-winged lizard dragons. All kinds of huge dragon bones spread all the way up. The upper part can almost be said to be a mountain of dragon bones. It proves that the dragon race is indeed one of the strongest races of life in the universe, and it also proves where the palpitations and suppression of Xiang Yuqian come from. This is basically a mass grave of the dragon race. I don't know how many dragons are buried here. After all, dragons are very strong and have a low mortality rate. I am afraid that most of the dragons that died in the heavens and the worlds must be piled up here to have such a mountain of numbers." Xiang Yuxu nervously grabbed her master's clothes and trembled. Is this the tomb of our dragon clan? Maybe, Xia Guixuan stood in front of the dragon head and looked at it. His whole body was not as big as the teeth of the dragon head. This was just a young dragon. It really looked like a dragon tomb. There were old dragons and young dragons. A large number of dragons gathered here, and the result was that the dragon's might and resentment, the remaining power and mystery were intertwined in the sky, and ordinary creatures dared not approach it. Even if these were just broken dragon bones that would not move. It was already so terrifying. What about the ones that could move? Xia Guixuan raised his head suddenly. In the darkness above, several huge bone dragons flew by, but they kept wandering in the abyss of bones, as if guarding a cemetery. Xia Guixuan knew that this was not guarding a tomb, but that they could never fly into the sky. Suddenly, he felt like he was being spied on. Xia Guixuan turned his head and looked. The bone palace was on the top of the mountain in front of him, with the head of Aoshan as the palace gate, and it seemed to be staring at him faintly. Xia Guixuan smiled slightly. A calm voice came from the Soul Sea. Since you are here, why don't you come in and have a chat? Chapter 361 Death God Yao Wu transmitted a thought with some self-blame. It should be because I acted without authorization just now that the fluctuation of the magic was discovered, otherwise it should not be able to see through the master's concealment. Xia Guixuan laughed and ignored the words. Instead, he said loudly, since you have invited a distinguished guest in, you open the dragon's mouth as if to threaten him. Is this the way to treat him? The guest is too powerful, and it is impossible to kill him, the telepathic voice said slowly. You don't want to enter through the dragon's mouth. Do you think you have entered the belly of Aoshan, which is not auspicious? Do you recognize me? I didn't recognize you at first, but I recognize you when I saw the little dragon in your arms. The man laughed and said, I have a fate with the dragon clan. If you don't recognize me, that's good. Xia Guixuan and Yao Wu are connected in mind at this moment. The two sides don't even communicate. Yao Wu hides her body and hides behind Xia Guixuan, like a loyal shadow guard. It's not to hide her body, but to hide her strength. As the king of dark energy, she is unparalleled in the world in concealment and restraint. As long as Yao Wu doesn't show herself, it's not easy for even Xia Guixuan to see through her true strength. The other party knows at most that there is a person hiding behind her. People would think that he was just a guard. Most people would not think that someone would be so extravagant as to use taking as a guard. If we don't know the enemy, then let the other party not know us either. It's even. Yao Wu was hiding, and Xia Guixuan was negotiating. Whether you can kill my power is one thing, and whether you accept this treatment is another. Your Excellency either show some courtesy, or, let me teach you some courtesy. At the end, his tone became harsh. The entire Chaos Soul Abyss changed color, the ghosts around were crying, and all the souls were silent. The 10,000 miles Bone Mountain was silent, and the bone dragons in the sky flew away and flew far away from the edge. Taking was furious. There was silence in the castle for a moment, and then he slowly said, you sneaked into the abyss and peeked at the Bone Mountain, but you didn't seem to be polite first. Xia Guixuan laughed. I can be rude, but you can't. It's that simple. As he spoke, Xia Guixuan suddenly made a move. The dragon head of Aoshan was broken into pieces, revealing the castle gate inside. Aoshan died not long ago. Your door couldn't possibly be its head anyway. Why are you pretending? Xia Guixuan sneered. I've removed the decoration for you. Doesn't it look much fresher? The man was not angry. Instead, he laughed. Well done, well done. It really looks much fresher. The bone door opened wide. I know your courtesy. Please, there was no courtesy, but force, which allowed passage through all realms. Xia Guixuan led Xiang Yuxun and Luo Wei's ghost into the castle. The castle was not very big, but medium-sized. It was full of ghosts, who looked at this group of uninvited guests somewhat helplessly. The ghosts' cultivation was pretty good, ranging from Huang to Kainan. They were roughly the ghosts that Luo Wei had mentioned before who wanted to enter the castle for cultivation. Because the yin energy inside this castle was indeed the heaviest, it was considered the core area where the yin energy of a world gathered, and it was most suitable for ghost cultivation. In addition to being the energy core area itself, the rest of the cultivation energy flowing from the Broken Hut City and other 8 directions basically gathered here and was absorbed by the owner of this place. Some soup might be scattered to other ghosts, making them its loyal servants. But they don't know that their own cultivation energy has also been cut away. No matter how convenient the cultivation place is, it is just psychological comfort. Maybe the owner of this place is in a good mood, and whoever wants to upgrade will upgrade. So it becomes a divine grace, and they are loyal and worshipful. Xia Guixuan can know the way here with a glance, and said with a sneer, "Where is the guide? The zombie land is really crude." Soon, a ghost floated up from below and said with a smile, "My king invites the distinguished guest to the ground floor for a chat." The ground floor. Xia Guixuan glanced at it. The ghost of the Wuxiang level has become a yang god. To be honest, this is not easy. In the traditional view of cultivation, it is very inconvenient to lose the physical body. Just like Tigui Li had to find a beggar's body to attach to him without a physical body, he also tried his best to give the soul of Long Yao a good physical body. It is not only for the body and soul to be intact, but also because the physical body is yang and the spirit is yin. Only when the yin and yang are in harmony can it be convenient to glimpse the great way. This is the most difficult part for ghosts to cultivate. It is very difficult to prove the Tao because of the yin attribute. It is very difficult for a ghost to achieve the state of no appearance. Generally, there is only one source. It was very strong when it was alive. And this is just one steward exposed on the surface. It is unknown how many others there are. Xia Guixuan said nothing and followed the steward leisurely down. Generally, the top floor is respected, and it is not surprising that the bottom floor is respected in this kind of place. But the bottom and the top give guests different feelings. The top can run away, but it is hard to say about the bottom. The palace is built on the top of the Bone Mountain, but the residence is at the bottom, giving people a feeling of taking off pants and farting. You might as well dig a pit underground in the first place. Why build a palace on the top of the mountain? Xia Guixuan and his 4 companions were complaining in their hearts. The longer they walked, the heavier the complaints became, until suddenly there was light in their eyes. The red glimmer came from a blood-red vortex in the middle of the ground. Like a big vortex in a sea of blood. There was a ghost around the sea of blood, forming a strange formation. You could faintly see the texture of the hexagram formation, flowing on the sea of blood and converging in the vortex in the middle. A strange human figure was suspended above the vortex, quietly watching Xia Guixuan and his party. Its body was made of flesh and bones, but it was like different things spliced together: a human body, dragon scales, tiger claws, snake tongue, fangs of an unknown creature, and a face like a 1,000-edged phantom monster with no other facial features. And an eye, growing on the forehead. Xia Guixuan could feel the breath on the eye. It was the eye of the remnant of the holy demon. Everyone came here for the purpose, but it was unexpectedly made into the eyes of this person himself, which was not expected in advance. This person reminded Xia Guixuan of the biological splicing transformation of humans. This transformation was particularly thorough, with all kinds of things. Even the eyes of the remnant of the holy demon were used. Can it bury it? Will it not be backfired? The remnant of the holy demon is a living thing. This thought flashed through Xia Guixuan's mind, but he laughed. "You have a very distinctive look. How should I call you?" The man laughed and said, "The name is just a code name, just call me a lich." Xia Guixuan smiled slightly. "The word lich is not enough to represent you. I feel that the god of death is closer to you." The man laughed and said, "Whatever, your surname is Xia. The more this kind of god plays with souls and death, the less willing to reveal the real name, which is understandable. The real name has its own spirituality. After it is mastered, there are too many tricks to play with curses and soul summoning. Even Xia Guixuan, who is not a real name, is generally unwilling to reveal it easily to the strong who play with souls and life and death, but the problem is not as serious as the real name. In fact, Xia Guixuan's real name is quite awkward, because I don't know which one is the real name. In terms of surname, it is Si Taikang, but people at that time called the clan name instead of the surname, so it should be called Xia Taikang or Xia Hao Taikang. When he was just born, he should be called Guangzi Taikang. Is this considered the real name? Or maybe the 2 words Taikang alone count, and nothing in front of them counts. It keeps changing. If the real name is to be reborn, embark on the path of cultivation, and abandon the past, then the 3 words Xia Guixuan are it. The other party probably knows his current identity, and there is no point in hiding it, so Xia Guixuan said straightforwardly, "Yes, Xia Guixuan." The god of death glanced at Xiang Yuxuan and Luo Wei's ghosts, and glanced at the shadows behind Xia Guixuan. He did not ask what they were called, but just stretched out his tiger claws and made a please gesture. "Dear guests, please sit down." As the voice sounded, the blood sea gradually swelled up and became a solid shape. In front of Xia Guixuan, it turned into blood jade-like table and chairs. The blood jade actually gave people a warm and pleasant feeling, not creepy. There was actually fine wine on the table. The wine was like blood, but it was not blood. It was even fairy wine, with its own spirituality. He actually treated them as distinguished guests instead of using maggots and rotten meat to entertain people. More civilized than imagined? Xia Guixuan smiled slightly, brushed his skirt and sat down casually. Of course it was not civilized, but courtesy before force. This person was definitely not a native of this place, but an alien god. Chapter 362 Lies? I know a little about the outside world. The death god also sat at a blood-red stone table, but kept a certain distance from Xia Guixuan and did not leave the center of the vortex. The two sides faced each other from a distance. It took a sip of the fine wine and said leisurely, "Going alone to the holy mountain, you shock the dragon clan. A weak country led its troops to unify the star field. The great father god of the Kanglong star field, your reputation has begun to spread in all realms. Some people have paid attention to your past. The East Emperor of the distant god realm once destroyed 8 or 9 of the god kingdoms, and his divine power shocked the heavens. He was a very remarkable emperor. If you were in the old place, I'm afraid that all living beings would worship you and the incense would be forever. I don't know why you came here to start from the beginning." The ghosts around raised their heads, all with shocked expressions. I didn't know why the master treated this group of uninvited guests so cautiously, but now I know. Apart from anything else, what is the concept of going alone to the holy mountain of the dragon clan? Let ordinary people not dare to go alone to a mountain of dragon bones. Xia Guixuan himself was not proud, and his face was not very good. The dragon clan had also told not to tell anyone about the matter, and the dragon clan themselves also said that this was a shameful matter for them and they would not tell anyone, but in the end everyone knew about it. What could these big mouths hide? But they were not allowed to tell anyone at the beginning, not to hide their reputation and pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger, but mainly because they were afraid that their sister would know. Now that their sister knows about it, it doesn't matter. Thinking of this, Xia Guixuan said lightly, "Since you know so much about my affairs, can you briefly explain your origins?" The death god laughed. "A nobody, a wandering ghost, not worth mentioning, not worth mentioning. I don't know why you are here. If there's anything I can help you with, please let me know," Xia Guixuan said. "A few years ago, a wandering soul from this place ran to the Zelda star field to do bad things. Does the death god know about this?" The death god was stunned for a moment. "Is this true?" "I really don't know." Xia Guixuan looked at its one eye seriously. Its tone was confused, but there was no confusion in the one eye, which was calm and deep. Xia Guixuan believed that it might not know, because if it knew that there was a weak point between its own world and the Zelda star region, it would not have allowed that location to be left empty and idle, which was unreasonable, and if it intended to invade, there would be a greater probability that there would be a base, and it would not have allowed the wandering soul to be captured and brainwashed by Yao Wu without anything happening, and there must have been follow-up preparations. So it is very likely that it really does not know. But since it really does not know, its eyes are calm, and there is a strange sense of separation from the confused tone. Does it mean that its fusion with this eye is not so perfect? At the same time, does it also mean that its control over this world is not as strong as it imagined, and it does not even know the weak points of its own world? Xia Guixuan said calmly, "Since you are the god of death, you should know that the world of life and death has strict rules. The living cannot enter the world of death, and the dead cannot enter the land of life. You allowed the wandering souls to wreak havoc in my star field. Don't you want an explanation for it?" The god of death frowned slightly and pondered for a moment before saying, "What explanation do you want?" Xia Guixuan pointed at Xia Guixuan, who was standing beside him and pulling his clothes. "Since you also know that she is my apprentice, what's the situation with dragon bones and dragon souls everywhere in your place? Why are even the bones of Aoshan here? Should I make preparations for my apprentice to avoid it?" The god of death laughed. "If you worry about this, there is no need. Why? Because those who flow here, whether souls or dead bones, no matter what ethnic group, are first of all sinners. Your apprentice is so cute, how could it be possible? You are talking nonsense." The god of death stopped talking, his eyes turned cold, staring at the ghosts beside Xia Guixuan. The ghost was furious. "Why do you say I am a sinner? Who'll judge me?" The eyes of the god of death flashed, revealing enlightenment. "He, Prince Luo Wei of the mechanical realm, died of suicide. Suicide is a sin, don't you know? And you still have the nerve to roar here, suicide?" Luo Wei was dumbfounded. "How else do you think you died? Do you remember the hatred?" Luo Wei was stunned for a long time, and said angrily, "Isn't it because you erased our memories, and now you ask us if we remember? Even if I give you the memories, you are not dead in your memories." The god of death smiled sarcastically. "Do you want to ask His Excellency Father Kanglong, is Luo Wei dead?" Luo Wei looked at Xia Guixuan in astonishment, and Xia Guixuan remained silent. "I don't know whether you are doing this for your own scientific research or for immortality. You replaced your consciousness with a chip and uploaded the original consciousness to the cloud. Where is the cloud to store consciousness? Isn't that the world of the dead?" "Ha ha ha," the god of death laughed. "You think that using a chip to replace thinking is actually just a living robot? You have been dead for a long time? If this is not suicide, what else can it be?" Luo Wei stepped back as if struck by lightning. "Oh, your way of dying is different from others. After all, there is still a copy of yourself alive, so you always feel that there is something that is not resolved, and there is always something that is tied to you. Do you think you still have your love in the world? That is not love, poor prince," the god of death mocked. "You did have love before, and she died in the plain invasion of the Qianling fantasy world, but you only cared about escaping. When did you care about your princess? Ha ha ha. You see, she died, and her soul didn't come here, right? Can you find her?" Xia Guixuan was silent. A touching love story that was thought to be very beautiful. The truth is so cruel. "No, you lied to me." Luo Wei's ghost held his head and kept retreating. "You lied to me. I made up a story to lie to you." The god of death sneered. "Are you worthy?" Luo Wei ran back like crazy, but was quickly controlled by a ghost. The god of death sneered. "You still have the nerve to question me. This is the consequence." As he spoke, Luo Wei's ghost was covered with blue fire, as if he was suffering from the torture of burning soul. But the fire went out before it burned. Xia Guixuan sipped the wine leisurely and said calmly, "Your Excellency, do you think I don't exist?" The god of death said, "To be honest, this matter has nothing to do with you, right? Is this considered interfering in the affairs of my realm?" Xia Guixuan smiled. "According to the rules, it seems that what I did is unreasonable, isn't it?" "Of course not." Xia Guixuan put down the wine glass and said slowly, "The cyborg Luo Wei is now my subordinate. I don't care whether it is a replica or the original body, no matter what the specific relationship between this ghost and him is, I treat it as half a subordinate, and that has something to do with me. So, what does the judgment of my subordinate have to do with others?" Luo Wei's ghost quieted down and looked at Xia Guixuan's back without saying a word. Yao Wu in the shadows also looked at Xia Guixuan's back, wondering what he was thinking. The god of death chuckled. "If you insist on defending this shortcoming, it's not that I can't give you face. Do you think I'm just defending my shortcoming? It's like you're being reasonable and tolerant, and I'm being unreasonable. Do you think this will make me feel short of breath and leave?" The god of death said coldly, "You and I have no grudges in the past or present, and I have given enough face to the distinguished guest. Do you still have to make things difficult for me?" Xia Guixuan finally laughed. "Because you are not telling the truth and you are lying. To be honest, even if the other party is lying, it is not a wrong thing. Do you expect him to tell you all the secrets of his own world?" The god of death also laughed and said, "Your Excellency seems to have gone too far." Xia Guixuan smiled and said, "I've already said that other things don't matter, but when it comes to the safety of my apprentice, don't blame me for being stubborn and asking clearly. You said that good and evil will be judged, and those who have committed sins will enter this place, but who will decide the good and evil of that ordinary tiger?" The god of death said, "Those who harm others are guilty, not to mention that it has nothing to do with tigers. This world has its own rules." Xia Guixuan said indifferently, "Well said, but why did I see the corpse of a real good dragon, which has never harmed a single living being in its life, and its bones are also in the mountains?" The god of death was stunned. "Why do you say that?" Xia Guixuan sighed softly, "Because I killed it with my own hands many years ago, in the war." Chapter 363, Solving the Puzzle, His Hero is My Enemy. In many cases, wars only have positions, not good or evil. Especially for the wars between the kingdoms of gods, they are more often related to the struggle of Taoism and the conflict of cultures. In the war, people will not care whether the other party is kind or has harmed anyone, or even if they were friends before, it is meaningless. It can also be said that war itself is the greatest sin, but the ones who should bear the sin are Xia Guixuan himself, or Emperor Jun, Zeus, Odin, etc., and not the dragons that are driven to pull the emperor's carriage. Yes, the dragon bones outside are the former subordinates of Emperor Jun, who were killed by Xia Guixuan himself in the War of Gods. Living long, seeing a lot, and experiencing a lot. It is easy to be exposed if you lie to such people, just like bragging that you have been to a certain place, but in fact the other party is more familiar with it than you are. Although we were enemies before, I don't think it should be that when no one knows, the corpses have been moved to an inexplicable place, scattered in the barren mountains and trampled, becoming other people's nourishment or capital for pretending. Xia Guixuan's expression gradually became fierce, and he said coldly, "Your judgment of good and evil is known to be false. I am not sure how many creatures will be treated like this. In addition to the Dragon Clan, are there other people under my rule? What is reasonable or unreasonable, polite or rude, is not important. What is important is that as the master of the star field, can I watch such things indifferently? I am responsible for my people, and I have to make it clear with you whether it is reasonable or not." The god of death said slowly, "Your Excellency is the master of the world of the living, and has nothing to do with the world of the dead. What happens after a person dies is not your business." Xia Guixuan laughed dumbly. "Am I the emperor of the mortal world? No. Anyone who knows the details of the Battle of Zelter should know that Xia Guixuan is building a kingdom of God and guiding heroes. He is also setting up hell. The three realms are under the control, not just the world of the living. In fact, no matter whether your judgment of good and evil is true or false," Xia Guixuan also said slowly, "to put it bluntly, other people are not qualified to judge the people under my rule, let alone use them as a furnace for cultivation, and provide nutrients for whom forever. If you want to talk about interfering in internal affairs, it was you who first meddle in the power of death disposal under my rule without authorization. Do you still have reason? Who gave you the power? This is an absolute opposition based on the emperor's position, which is almost impossible to reconcile." The atmosphere immediately became solemn. If it is said that courtesy comes first and force comes later, this courtesy is almost broken. The look on the god of death also turned completely cold. "Your Excellency means that from now on, I will stay away from all the creatures in the star fields and plains that you have set foot in, including the Dragon Clan?" Xia Guixuan said slowly, "No." "Oh? So what? What I want is to clearly understand the reasons why your realm accepts all kinds of undead spirits, and to take the initiative to close them off to avoid future problems. The initiative is on me. It's not that you can stay away or not, depending on your mood. Aren't you going too far? Can you stop pretending to be a wronged little wife? We are all adults." Xia Guixuan sighed. "Do you want me to speak for you?" The god of death was stunned and laughed. "Your Excellency understands, a little bit," Xia Guixuan said slowly. "You are not here to judge, nor are you in charge of life and death. You just came here from outside, discovered the eyeball, and thus saw through the secret of life and death, and began to use it to do some things, such as, what? Studying your own origins, huh? The dragon of life and death who wandered outside the Dragon Clan and never returned, Mr. Aoli." Xia Guixuan's eyes widened in astonishment, looking at the monster in the center of the vortex that looked nothing like a dragon. Was this death god another taking dragon of the Dragon Clan, Aoli, the dragon of life and death? How did Xia Guixuan know that? The death god stared at Xia Guixuan coldly without saying a word, as if he was worried that he was just testing him and that he would be exposed if he spoke. "How did you figure that out?" "It's actually very simple. After the death of the dragons of the heavens, they should all be buried in the dragon tombs in the dragon realm, and Aoli should have been responsible for this. He was able to move all the dragon tombs in the dragon realm silently, and he also had the means to migrate the corpses across plains. Considering these 2 points, who else could it be except Aoli who embezzled?" Xia Guixuan smiled. "There are some other details. For example, you recognize you soon, and said that the Dragon Clan and you have a connection. In fact, it's not a connection, but you are a dragon," the god of death said indifferently. "Isn't your judgment too arbitrary?" "I can make a more arbitrary judgment," Xia Guixuan said. "The Dragon Clan is Yang, and the Thousand-Edge Fantasy Monster is Yin. The Dragon Clan is life, and the Thousand-Edge Fantasy Monster is death. The Thousand-Edge Fantasy world is the Dragon Clan's world of death, and the only one who discovered this connection is you, who controls the Dragon Clan's bridge of life and death. You can even find your own projection in the Thousand-Edge Fantasy world, and then become one. Look at your blurry face of the Thousand-Edge Fantasy Monster." He paused, and suddenly smiled. "The Thousand-Edged Illusionary Monster expanded its dimensions and tried to enter our star field, but failed. You yourself also have the form of a Thousand-Edged Illusionary Monster, which means that the Thousand-Edged Illusionary Monster has been here, but there is obviously a weak passage leading to my star field, Why have they never discovered it? Because they dare not explore this place. This place is occupied by you, and it has also become their world of death. You are building your own world of life and death between the Dragon Clan and the Thousand-Edged illusionary world to conduct your research. The God of Death smiled and said, "Excellent, your imagination is quite rich. According to your analysis, what research am I conducting?" "Research on the origins of the Dragon Clan and the Thousand-Edged illusionary monster," Xia Guixuan said lightly. "The Thousand-Edged illusionary monster is unpredictable, with a vague figure and no definite face, and can basically take any form. And dragons. They seem to be spliced together from countless different creatures, combining all the advantages. The two can be said to be different. Or they can be said to be two sides of the same coin. They are all molded from beginning to end." Xia Guixuan looked at the God of Death with a chill all over her body, her mouth trembling slightly, wanting to say something but not saying it. It felt like the master was not exploring the secrets of this world, but exploring the confusion that had been lingering in her heart for a long time, and trying to find a solution in this world. And this confusion was also what she feared in her subconscious mind, and that was why she leaned towards the master. The God of Death stopped talking completely, and just looked at Xia Guixuan coldly and said, "You moved different corpses and souls, but did not interfere with their fights. Originally I didn't know what you were doing, but my guard just did something on a whim, which reminded me. You were watching them piece together by themselves to create different creatures. The snake body and human head just now seemed quite interesting, wasn't it?" Xia Guixuan pointed at himself. "Look at you. You have tried a lot. You tried to restore the process of the birth of the Dragon Clan and the possibility of turning yourself into a stronger life form," Death said. "So according to your suspicion, what does it have to do with you?" "Because I interfered with the handling of deaths under your jurisdiction. Originally, it had little to do with me, but you did two things that you should never have done." "Which two things?" "Aoshan is not dead, but you brought him here against the will of the Dragon God. You have already started to study the splicing of living dragons, and this is the reason why Yusun's palpitations come from it." Xia Guixuan smiled. I smashed his head. "Why are you so happy?" "Because the spirit of Aoshan, who was originally resisting, now has all the resentment towards me, and you merged it in the vortex, wasting my time using courtesy before force, and talking nonsense. Are you happy?" As the voice sounded, the vortex began to surge. A huge blood-colored bone dragon slowly emerged from the vortex, and the body of the God of Death was the new dragon head. Xia Guixuan seemed not to see it, and said lightly, "Now it's Aoshan who is not dead. Who knows if it won't be you soon next time? There is no end to desire." "Well said." The bone dragon slowly emerged more and more, and the surrounding sea of blood absorbed its body, and gradually condensed into the shape of flesh and blood. "Then what about the second thing?" "The second thing, you shouldn't covet Yuwu's body. Maybe that is a perfect fusion reference for you, but she is mine." Calm. Chapter 364. A mob? Yao Wu didn't even know why Xia Guixuan said that the other party coveted her body. The other party didn't show this at all. He didn't even pay as much attention to her as he did to Luo Wei. Xia Guixuan continued, "The red moon cells obtained by Yao Wu are small, and the eyeballs here are large. According to the rules of this body, she should not be able to actively detect the existence of the eyes. On the contrary, it is the eyes that occasionally spy on her, and she senses it because of the effect of the life link." Yao Wu was horrified. "Yes. I haven't thought about this question. There is no problem with the logic, it is true." Maybe Xia Guixuan didn't react to this at first, thinking that her life link had a miraculous effect. But combined with the strange fusion behavior of the God of Death, it should be clear. Her fusion of Yao Wu is, to some extent, a good reference for the other party. Not only a reference, but from the perspective of the magic way, isn't this a capture and study inch by inch? Then, is she here to deliver the goods? The other party has always been in the center of the vortex. What has he prepared? Yao Wu raised the highest alert. But Xia Guixuan said, "Yao Wu has also merged with Long Aiao's evil thoughts. The value of this fusion to your research is absolutely ridiculous. I can almost see your drooling look, spying on them from time to time. Fortunately, they are dirty and don't take a bath, otherwise your death sentence will be added." "Yao Wu, death, such a lofty thing. Are you thinking about this?" Xia Guixuan said leisurely. "Blood eclipses in the dark star domain, in theory, to search for red moon cells, but it obviously has other tasks. One is to open up the plane channel and welcome the massive entry of the Thousand Edges fantasy world, and the other is to capture Yawu for research, so its actions are not to spread and search for cells, but to always try to occupy the magpie's nest and want to be the king of the star domain. I always thought that its behavior was a bit strange, and it seemed to be restrained, which made me a little disappointed. Now it suddenly became clear, the god of death finally stopped denying it, and laughed. Although some things are still a little bit off, it is not far off, just like seeing it with your own eyes. It is worthy of being Xia Guixuan, who is considered the most unexpected person who should be sent to Guixu. The laughter became louder and crazier, accompanied by the scene of the bone dragon bleeding from the sea of blood, and the sea of blood giving birth to flesh and blood, which was weird and terrifying. The majestic and unparalleled cold power spread throughout the space, and the pressure of energy alone was enough to crush Luo Wei's ghost, which was only a cloud, into ashes. Xia Guixuan didn't have time to ask what it meant, and he knew it wouldn't tell him even if he asked. He had already stood up and quickly grabbed Luo Wei's ghost and hid it in his cauldron. Luo Wei, the entire underground blood sea had completely collapsed and turned into a dark void shining with blood. Everyone was suspended in it, with no way up to the sky and no way down to the earth, just like in a chaotic eggshell. Xia Guixuan found that many of her abilities were no longer usable. There was no spiritual energy in this place, no communication between heaven and earth, no cosmic energy, only the most extreme negative energy, cold and dead air. The magic she learned could not be used at all, and the magic weapon was basically ineffective. It seemed that she was restricted by the rules of the realm and could not transcend. The star dragon communication she learned from her master was also completely cut off. There was no place for stars. How could she communicate and sense remotely? On the contrary, there was a sense of death. It was as if the soul was about to be separated from the body, and helplessly fell into the vortex of reincarnation, unable to break free, unable to escape, and without any strength. I'm going to die. Xia Guixuan had only this thought in her mind. Sure enough, the heart palpitations before were just a premonition. The dragon of life and death controls the life and death of the dragon clan. Sure enough, even master can't stop the changes in the depths of my soul. Just as she was thinking this, a warm current came from her soul sea, as if a warm little quilt wrapped her soul inside. The master's transmission appeared at the same time. I didn't put you into the cauldron to hide, because I wanted you to use it to break through the limits of life and death. Aoli is not the final opponent you have to face, but just your stepping stone. Step over it, and you will transcend the three realms and become a Yang god. How can I step over it? Stars are just dead things. The essence of star dragon sympathy is just an image. Stars can become the dragon of Daksha, so why can't other things? Our dragon is the will of the emperor, the heart of the world, the beginning of summer, and the continuation of life. It is not a star or a dragon itself. Xia Guixuan's voice echoed in the soul sea. In the depths of your soul, the mist is like the night, and the spiritual light is like stars. Why are they not dragons? If a person has the intention of a dragon, then he is a dragon. If you have this intention, you will not be limited by blood. Xia Guixuan saw stars. That was her own lingering soul, like a firefly in the night sky, ethereal and dreamy, beautiful like a star. The dragon is me, not the body, but the mind. Yes, the body is limited but the mind is infinite. This is the way of the immortals. I will protect your spirit platform. You can feel it. Xia Guixuan left this sentence and then his voice disappeared. Xia Guixuan had no time to care. She had completely fallen into her own soul image and lost all perception of the outside world. In fact, the outside world only lasted for a moment. The communication between the soul and the spirit is instantaneous. Xia Guixuan only entered with the split soul, and the scene in the outside world was not relaxing at all. He did not dare to be too distracted and had to come back to his mind. It was not only Xia Guixuan who had problems, but also Yawu. Her stealth and guarding had been proven to be useless, because the other party had been paying attention to her for a long time, and knew who she was, what her strength was, and what her flaws and weaknesses were at first sight. Her flesh and blood showed signs of cracking. The body of taking, cracking when it was said. The reason was very simple, because the other party had studied this spliced and fused body for too long. If it is not native, then it is not native. There must be very subtle flaws in the soul that are not compatible. Under normal circumstances, it cannot be exposed and cannot be detected by oneself. But in the eyes of researchers who specialize in this, it is there. The law of life and death, flesh and blood peeling. Return to her most original energy life state, peeling off the body that was born from the fusion of flesh and blood with the beasts. In fact, Xiaowu is not irresistible. Although this is indeed her flaw, she can always resist it with her own taking ability. The problem is she willing to resist? Zelter has been destroyed, and the beasts have been sent to do hard labor by Xia Guixuan. The premise of her previous self-sacrifice to merge into a monster no longer exists. Is it necessary to continue? Is this an opportunity to get out of the monster state? The flaw is not on the body, but in the heart. Once she hesitates like this, her combat power is almost useless, and the opponent doesn't even need to launch an attack. Xia Guixuan looked at the shadow beside him trembling, knowing what was going on, and sighed secretly. I thought that I had breathtaking with me, and he was invincible, but he was destroyed without even moving. It was right. They were just new captives. How could they have much loyalty and cooperation? They should work for their own interests. The original intention of coming together was to get along with each other. At present, they were just a mob. And he couldn't even take care of Xiaowu in a short time. In front of him was a 1,000-foot blood dragon. On its body made of blood jade, there were different eyes all over it. They were made up of countless real dragon corpses. The blood dragon had no head, and its head was replaced by the body of the god of death just now. Looking at the whole body of the 1,000-foot blood dragon, it almost looked like there was no head, but there were eyes. A magnified single eye occupied the entire dragon head. You can feel the soul resentment of the bone dragon, which was the fierce resentment of the spirit of Aoshin at the end of his life. Countless resentment, fierceness, madness, destruction, and extreme cold entanglements entangled the dragon body. It was the ultimate manifestation of the law of death that would kill you if you touched it. The dragon's body had gone through countless adjustments and tempering, and its strength was definitely stronger than any dragon Xia Guixuan had ever seen. Because it was made up of the strongest parts of countless different dragons, and condensed into flesh and blood with a sea of planes. The body and soul were perfectly integrated under the eyeball, and it even had a faint feeling of the eyeball before it died, which was half a step to supremacy. Shit, I caught up. I'm stuck with this. I think I should take a day off tomorrow or the day after tomorrow to sort it out. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365 I've been coveting you Xia Guixuan. Monster Aoli was laughing. You are indeed amazing. You have all the strength, wisdom, experience, and even caution. The only shortcoming is that you are too curious and it overwhelms your caution. It spread its bloody bone wings, which already had obvious flesh membranes. You clearly suspected that I was secretly preparing in the vortex, and guessed that I was deliberately delaying the negotiations, but you still wanted to decipher the secrets above all else. Are you particularly satisfied after reaching a conclusion? Are you particularly eager to see my final form? Have you ever thought that you might die here because of your inappropriate curiosity? If a person has no curiosity, is there any point in living so long? Is your research for power or for knowledge? Xia Guixuan said, his robes fluttering without wind, and suddenly he slashed across the void in front of him. It seemed that there were invisible ripples flowing over, and they were cut in front of him by his palm. The death energy spread and separated, and passed around Xiaowu behind him. Xiaowu in the shadows raised her head slightly, looking at his back with flickering eyes. The ends of his long hair seemed to be turning white. The law of life and death, the passing of life. At this level, there is no need for a confrontation of magic. The laws directly erode and collide. It seems that there is no battle, but in fact, there has been a confrontation from beginning to end, and the battle has been going on for a long time. Without personal experience, it is difficult to feel the pressure Xia Guixuan is under at this moment. It is the continuous loss of vitality. The body is getting weaker and weaker, the mind is getting more and more drowsy, old, and even dead. Half a step to supremacy. If Xia Guixuan himself is not proficient in the law of life and death, an ordinary cultivator would have died long ago. He is trying his best to fight, while protecting Xia Guixuan. This time, he took action to protect Xiaowu. Xiaowu looked at his white hair, and her expression changed several times. There was always a voice transmission communication in her soul sea, but Xia Guixuan didn't hear it. Xia Guixuan is not the only one who can help you with Dijun's revenge on your original clan. I can also help you. As for Xia Guixuan's revenge on the destruction of your country, if you miss this opportunity, there will be no chance anymore. Aoli's voice transmission echoed in the Soul Sea. You hate your own body, and I am the only one in this world who can help you transform it. I don't need you to be a slave or a servant. Instead, I can study life and death with you, explore blood and bones, and embark on the path of supremacy. Xia Guixuan is right in front of you, with his back to you. As long as you hide him from behind, the so-called invincible Xia Guixuan will die here today. Your great revenge has been avenged, and there is hope for the future. What are you still hesitating about? On the contrary, if you continue to resist, you will die here. You should know that you can't resist the separation of flesh and blood, the change of life and death, and you can't even move unless I stop. He protects me, and I sneak attack him. Is he really protecting you? Do you believe that he dares to be so distracted when facing the half-step supreme? He just pretends to be unable to save his face. Yu Wu looked at Xia Guixuan's white hair and said nothing. In the instant communication of her soul sea, Xia Guixuan was also facing Aoli's open ridicule. You actually still have time to protect her? Ha ha. You are so hard to hold on. And you still have the energy to help so many people? Especially. Is she willing to help you? Why not? If she was determined before, it would not be so easy. The Empress of a generation is not made of clay. But once she hesitated, it would be too late. It is useless to regret and want to resist now. Aoli laughed. I have observed her for so long and know her mind better than you. Just a moment of hesitation can destroy everything. You can help resist for a while. How long can you help? I said. She is my person, and I will resist as long as I need to. She is your person? What loyalty does she have to you? Hatred for Dijun? That is so far away. Aoli laughed. The closer hatred is that you destroyed her country and asked her to massage your feet. Ha. Do you really think she doesn't want to kill you? Xia Guixuan did not answer, and the white at the end of her hair gradually spread. But her body still stood like a mountain, protecting Yao Wu. Aoli laughed loudly and said, if that's the case, then go and die. His eyes suddenly shot out divine light, heading straight for Xia Guixuan's head. At this position, if Xia Guixuan dodges, Yao Wu behind him will surely die. Dang, as expected, the Yu Wending was suppressed in front of him. At the same time, a whistling sound came from behind, and the ghosts that were originally distributed around the Blood Sea and the housekeeper's ghost and countless castle souls merged into one without knowing when, turning into a solid faceless ghost, and captured Yao Wu from behind. It turned out to be Tai Qinghun. Do you still want to resist? Aoli's voice transmission sounded again in Yao Wu's soul sea at the right time. As long as you fight back against Xia Guixuan, I will immediately release your flesh and blood. Otherwise, if you are captured, you will not be a fellow Taoist, but a prisoner. Ha. Swoosh, white light lit up. The sword of Gente ran away, and the dazzling light startled the ghost. The sword of Gente, which was remade with materials of the light system, was originally used to deal with the dark demon, and it was also effective against the evil dead things. The light spread throughout the blood-colored space, and the blood turned into snow. Thousands of fluorescent lights gathered at one point and suddenly exploded in front of the ghost. Divine power, hell is empty. Crossing the underworld, cleansing the dark, the underworld is full of life and death are redefined. This is the second special magical power that Xia Guixuan used after the Taiyi divine sword. It is not for himself, but for Yao Wu. It is difficult to experience what it feels like to be hit in the face by the magical power before the taking ghost just appeared on the road. People don't even think about whether it can withstand Xia Guixuan's attack. Because everyone can't even think that Xia Guixuan dared to put the remaining strength behind him at this moment to take care of others. Aoli, who is half a step supreme, has already hit him. Bang! The blood dragon body swept heavily on the Yu Wending, and the Yudling lost its position. Xia Guixuan shook slightly. The dead light in his eyes shot towards Xia Guixuan's spiritual platform again. The empty door was wide open, and the attacking magic weapon went behind him. What else did Xia Guixuan rely on? Rely on the Donghuang bell? That thing is not used for that. A thought suddenly flashed through Yao Wu's mind. If it was a demon, he might pull her to the front to block the gun, and then there would be a chance to counterattack. He might not, but it was inevitable to dodge, because it was too easy for him to dodge, as long as he didn't consider the people behind him. But Xia Guixuan didn't do as she thought. Not only did he not pull her to block the gun, he didn't dodge either. He just held his hands in the air, as if he was holding an invisible Tai Chi. The death light disappeared, as if it had never existed, and even the void in the middle seemed to disappear. There was nothing, no space, no time, no air, no light, no life and death. A mysterious feeling that is difficult to explain clearly, let alone analyze. Nothingness. The law of nothingness versus the law of death? Even the blood dragon will return to nothingness within this range? Yes, just like Xia Guixuan will also return to death within this range. It depends on who can withstand who. Can Xia Guixuan withstand the half-step to supremacy? As if she could hear the sound of the law breaking, Yao Wu clearly saw that Xia Guixuan's hair was getting wider and wider, starting from the ends of his hair and spreading upwards, gradually turning into snow. In the front that she couldn't see, she didn't know if his face was full of wrinkles. She could only hear his slightly old and hoarse voice, which finally sounded, "I know you are communicating secretly. I never thought Yao Wu would betray. Aoli, do you think that if Yao Wu doesn't betray, she will die, and she can't withstand your flesh and blood being peeled off?" Aoli's voice was serious, and it could be seen that the confrontation of the law was not easy, isn't it? Xia Guixuan sighed. Yao Wu, let's not mention anything else, I just repeat one sentence. You are very beautiful. Well, I have been greedy. Yao Wu widened her eyes. You have been greedy, how can you say such a thing, especially at this time? Speaking of which, is a person's body for himself or for others to see? Others think it's cool, handsome and beautiful, but I don't like it, so whose opinion should be taken as the standard? Yao Wu subconsciously wanted to say that of course it's up to me. Does it matter what others think of me? I'm not doing it for beauty, but for the way I should look and my original intention. Who is as perverted as you, thinking about beauty and body all day long? But then he thought something was wrong. This logic is a bit hard to explain. No matter what it should look like, isn't it for people to see? I don't know what a woman is doing to abandon her coveted coolness and beauty, just to return to a ball of energy. Is she mentally retarded? Especially because she actually fell into crisis because of this hesitation. It's simply, if I had known that Queen Zelter was such a retard, I could have moved up my plan to destroy Zelter by half a year. Is it because of the loss of the evil thoughts of the dark and the low IQ? Yao Wu raised her eyebrows. You are still so confident about your body, can you shut up in front of the enemy? Aoli, who was confronting Xia Guixuan, was shocked to find that when he confronted Xia Guixuan with all his strength, the separated flesh and blood law could not control Yao Wu at all. She seemed to be out of control. Boom, the blazing light, the pure cosmic light energy completely exploded in the space, and the law that seemed to restrict Yao Wu from moving collapsed. The flesh and blood that originally had signs of cracking completely recovered under the light, and not even a trace of blood could be seen. You can see that she has a mirror in her hand, a divine weapon, a mirror of light. At the same time, the golden armor shone, and the spikes on her shoulder blades fluttered like wings. In an instant, she passed Xia Guixuan in front of her, and the shadow veil in her hand condensed into a sword, slashing down at the body of the blood dragon. You are obsessed with using rebellion to deal with him, but you are nothing but a half-step supreme. Without this you, Aoli, are nothing but this. Reveal your true colors, the law of death, the yin and death, they are all a kind of dark energy. Aoli understands, Yao Wu also understands. The law of flesh and blood, the splicing of the body, Aoli understands, Yao Wu also understands. Yao Wu's body and soul have flaws. Of course, Aoli also has flaws. From the beginning to the end, the killer is here with Yao Wu, not Xia Guixuan. Chapter 366, the exploding shadow blade slashed down, and the vengeful spirits surrounding the blood dragon's appearance, and the integrated offensive and defensive armor that seemed to kill others if touched, were actually chopped into pieces by this blade. The vengeful soul screamed and went straight into the soul sea. The counterattack of the deadly evil that could drive almost anyone crazy had no effect on Yao Wu, just like the wind blowing on her face. A spirit that was a gathering of primordial shadows, what was she afraid of? Not to mention that it was her nourishment. The sword broke straight in and reached the blood dragon's body in an instant. The blood dragon, who was in a stalemate with Xia Guixuan, could hardly make any extra moves, and could only raise its blood wings to sweep towards Yao Wu. A blow from the half-step supreme dragon body? Theoretically, such physical force alone could smash everything, even the plane. But surprisingly, when Yao Wu's shadow sword chopped on the blood wings, it was not Yao Wu who was knocked away. Yao Wu was not affected at all, but strange cracks appeared on the blood wings. You also have flaws. If they are not original, then they are not original. Yao Wu's tone was calm, as if what he said had nothing to do with him. We are both in the shadows, under the same life, and there is no place for you and me to hide. As he spoke, cracks began to spread, just like glass that was cracked from one corner, and the cracks spread all the way around, instantly covering the entire body of the blood dragon like a spider web. It was exactly the state that Yao Wu was in before, giving him back in his own way. Although they all used the same routine, Ao Li was half a step to the supreme, and Yao Wu was only at the first level of taking, so this result should not have occurred. However, Yao Wu was protected by Xia Guixuan, and Ao Li was now hedging against Xia Guixuan's law. I thought it was Xia Guixuan who was protecting 3 legs, and I didn't know if he would regret changing his path. It was obviously more of a burden and inconvenience. But in less than an instant, it became 2 takings who surrounded and beat him up. Ao Li didn't react for a while to why the situation became like this. Just because you said I was greedy for your body? And called you a retard? Then would it be useful for me to say something? Ao Li was shocked and angry, and said in a stern voice, I took you as a fellow Taoist, studied the secrets of flesh and blood with you, and helped you to avenge the destroyer of the country, but you refused. You are very happy when others want to play with your body. Are you really a retard? Yu Wu's eyes were filled with anger. Do you really think I will believe your nonsense? Studying the secrets of flesh and blood together, I am afraid that I will be studied on your chopping board. As she spoke, the corner of her eye quietly swept over Xia Guixuan. At this position, she could see his front face. He did not have the old face she imagined, but still had a handsome face, sword eyebrows and star eyes. However, his long hair was like snow, and he had a bit of white fox-like weirdness for no reason. At this time, he was holding Tai Chi with a stern expression, and the surrounding cyclone was rising. His clothes were fluttering. Yu Wu felt that this might be the first time she realized what the concept of handsome was. She glanced at him without responding to the second half of Ao Li's words. The mirror of light in her left hand suddenly made a move and pressed on the dragon's body. In this land of the dead, this zombie body, with dry bones spliced together, blood sea as flesh, resentful souls as spirits. What would it feel like to be invaded by the original energy of light? Visible to the naked eye, dazzling light bloomed on all the cracks of the 1,000-foot blood dragon's body at the same time. It was like watching a dragon being dismembered, falling apart in an instant, turning into countless blood clots, skeletons, flesh, internal organs, and dragon scales, flying around, and then quickly gathering, each looking for the original body. In the blink of an eye it turned into more than 10 dragon corpses, distributed in all directions. The resentful spirits that were just dispersed roared and swept, and merged with the dragon corpses respectively, and each lit up the phosphorescent fire in their eyes, forming a corpse dragon army. More than 10 corpse dragons, with hideous and resentful faces, rushed toward Yao Wu and Xia Guixuan in unison. Yao Wu put away the mirror of light, stretched out his hand and pressed it in the void, and lightning flashed in his eyes. The vast lightning covered the space, interweaving and occupying all vision. One person killed all the dragon corpses. Not even one was missed in the direction of Xia Guixuan. Whoosh, Yao Wu disappeared from the spot, and when he reappeared, he was already standing on a dragon corpse, chopping down with a sword in his hand indifferently. The dragon head was separated, and the dark blood splashed, dissipating in the lightning. Xia Guixuan blinked his eyes. So cool. This shadow attack in the sky full of lightning is both gorgeous and mysterious. Did he have nothing to do? No. The blood dragon was disintegrated into dragon corpse army, and Ao Li in front of him was freed from the splicing state and turned into the human form when he first met, with dragon scales, tiger claws, no face, and one eye. Although there was no terrifying power just now, the supreme power in the eyes still confronted, eroding Xia Guixuan's vitality. You are no match for me now, brother Ao. Xia Guixuan smiled and looked at the eye. You only rely on this eye now, so what? Ao Li said coldly. Your Highness Wu broke my body, but she didn't have the ability to break the fusion between me and this eye, and the same goes for you. Xia Guixuan looked up and thought for a while. I am curious about one thing. I don't know why you are always unwilling to draw inferences from one example, and stubbornly think that you are an exception. Ao Li, Xia Guixuan sighed. You merged with other dragon corpses and resentful souls. You are all dragons, and you can have subtle flaws that were caught by Yu Wu and disintegrated. Then what on earth do you think that your fusion with this eye has no flaws? Ao Li laughed dumbly. Because this is the fusion of the soul, I am it, and it is me. Oh, Xia Guixuan said lightly. So, at this moment, Are you Aoli or the holy demon? Or simply put, is Luo Wei's consciousness still alive after being replaced by the chip? Luo Wei's ghost in the cauldron looked moved. Aoli's face suddenly changed. But the eyes were calm and leisurely. Xia Guixuan looked at the eyes and sighed. When we first met, I felt that there was a strange sense of disconnection between this eye and your expression, but you yourself did not realize it. You relied on its core function of absorbing energy to whip the realm and play with all living beings, thinking that you were a leak, but who knows? Are you its leak? Aoli was stunned for a moment. And his expression quickly became crazy. You are no match for the eyes, but you deliberately use words to confuse my heart and try to take advantage of me. I have seen many people like you. You will shut up naturally when you die under the law. The death light in his eyes was so strong that he was willing to use the power at the bottom of the box to launch the final instant death, even if both sides were injured. Xia Guixuan still sighed. Do you really think I don't have a trump card? I also have something of the same level as this eye, and it happens to counter the eye. What counters the eye? Aoli watched Xia Guixuan take out 2 fingers and insert them into the eye. Aoli, the eyes also revealed a very funny look of fear, as if trying desperately to dodge. But how could it be possible to dodge Xia Guixuan's attack when it was so close? It was really true that even a complete body that had reached the half-step supreme level might not be able to dodge like this here. With a swish, the eye was actually pierced and exploded by his own fingers. Xia Guixuan retracted his fingers and flew back. His fingers were bloodless and still clean, and they looked like a V-shaped victory in his hand, which was extremely funny. Aoli held his forehead and let out an earth-shaking roar. This is not blindness, but a disordered soul. The status of the eyes is higher than its body. How can the body and soul core formed by the eyes withstand such damage? The body was damaged, the core collapsed, and its body began to fall apart like the blood dragon before, and exploded violently. It happened that Xia Guixuan retreated and advanced to avoid the center of the explosion, as if he had predicted it. At the center of the explosion, a dragon-shaped soul left the body and rushed towards the corpse dragon next to it, trying to find another body to rely on. As soon as it rushed out, it paused and turned to look at a corner of the space. That was Xia Guixuan squatting there, holding her head with both hands to resist the invasion of blood. Aoli's soul was overjoyed. This is the body of a real dragon, the best body to take over. The soul arrived in an instant and rushed to Xia Guixuan's spirit platform. Xia Guixuan was shocked and was about to protect her, but so Xia Guixuan suddenly opened her eyes. You and I are completely different. Even if we were the same before, we will never be the same in the future. In the darkness, the body of the little lolly can be vaguely seen stretching. In the void, a graceful soul shadow seems to be suspended. The stars are twinkling above the spirit body, forming a dragon shape, and the dazzling light illuminates the darkness. In this realm of death, amidst the rain of blood and corpses, and in the boundless fear, Xia Guixuan has broken through the barrier of life and death, transcended the limitations of the flesh, jumped out of the 3 realms and 5 elements, and achieved the infinite Yang God. Proof of the formlessness of the star dragon. With a bang, as if hitting an invisible wall, Aoli's soul could not get close to Xia Guixuan's body at all, as if they were 2 creatures with incompatible flesh and blood. I told you, we are different. P.S. I suddenly realized that I can post a chapter for the extra chapter. Chapter 367, The Netherworld. Aoli couldn't understand the reason. It could connect with other creatures, so why couldn't it get close to the body of Xia Guixuan, a fellow creature? Even if she changed her race, this phenomenon shouldn't happen. Besides, she was just a formless being, and there was an absolute level difference. But that's what happened. It lost the opportunity to change its body as soon as the explosion occurred, and it would never have another chance. It was so close to Xia Guixuan, and its first reaction was to quickly catch Xia Guixuan before doing anything else. The dragon soul opened its mouth and let out a soul roar, trying to knock out Xia Guixuan's Yang Shen. But it was too late, and Xia Guixuan was not just watching. As the roar started, the sound of the bell floated. All the fluctuations were shattered by the Donghuang bell, and no harm could be done. Xia Guixuan took out a gun. Aoli, the silent ray hit the dragon soul that was so close. Aoli found that he had a moment of disorder and stiffness, and he couldn't use any soul power. Xia Guixuan's expression twitched. What is that? I have one in my pocket, too, a god-killing spear sold by a profiteer on Jimeo Star. Is it really useful? Although it was only useful for a moment, Aoli was freed and recovered almost instantly, but this delay was enough, and the next moment Yao Wu's magic had descended behind him. Zelter dark magic, feedback. This is a kind of magic that burns the spirit. If there is a physical body, the burning of the spirit will be fed back to the physical body, causing the physical body to annihilate and die. If there is no physical body, then the spirit will die. As if a hum sound could be heard, Aoli's dragon soul twisted and became ethereal and scattered. The sword of Junte slashed behind it. The netherworld was dispersed, and hell became empty. A brutal beating. Aoli rushed left and right, angrily. Xia Guixuan, you are the peak of taking, a generation of Immortal Emperor. You hide behind an attack. Yeah, isn't this cool? Xia Guixuan punched the dragon soul in the face, causing a ripple. I've never seen you so bored. Taking, many people have said so. Xia Guixuan was refreshed. He usually fights one against many, but this time he is clearly in the basement of the opponent's castle, but it turns out that he is beating up the opponent alone. How can it be so refreshing? Because all the other dragon corpses and dragon souls were dealt with by Yao Wu alone, and the corpses outside could not come in because of the closed space, all Aoli's actions eventually became self-defeating. Master, Yao Wu whispered, the longer the night, the more dreams there are. I'm worried that it can explode the plane, which will be very troublesome. Xia Guixuan smiled slightly. It can't explode this plane at all. Why? It has been operating for a long time and has merged with the eye. I don't know if there are any special methods, but it may not all depend on strength, because that eye is fake. Yao Wu, Aoli who is resisting stubbornly, you can defeat me, but you can't insult my IQ. Aoli said angrily, I have been fused with it for so many years, how could I not know whether it is true or not? Of course you don't know. Xia Guixuan looked at it with pity, you don't even know that you are dead, and you are still laughing at Luo Wei. Luo Wei, how are they the same? Luo Wei no longer knows the situation of his original body. And I know everything, do you really know? Then how come you still have this little ability after practicing for so long? Because the practice energy is too little, it takes time to accumulate, and it cannot be considered ineffective because it has not worked for hundreds of years. Even mortals know that exercise takes years to see the effect. Xia Guixuan, you can't be ignorant of such a simple truth. Then, why don't you know that there is a weak point in the dimension realm leading to my star field? Xia is used to traveling in the heavens. All planes have something in common, that is, there must be a source of energy. For example, the plane of the fire element must be derived from a core of fire source. When the energy is exhausted, the plane will also be exhausted and die. Unless a cycle mechanism is formed, the life and death of the fire element will return to the core, and so on and so forth. Xia Guixuan said, even so, it will slowly disappear. Very few things can last forever. Xia Guixuan was a little amused. This master is really curious and has a strong desire to explore. Fortunately, he is a teacher. But it must be said that everyone's mind was really attracted, and even the battle slowed down, and Aoli was the same. Xia Guixuan continued, even the main universe is like this. The energy of the main universe is born from various collision reactions, but it is not infinite. It will eventually run out, so the universe will reopen. Even human research points to this point. Then the question is, where does the energy of this world come from? Where do all kinds of dark negative energy such as yin and death come from? Did you give it? Or your eyes? Aoli's resistance became slower and slower, and it was obvious that his mind was a little shaken. It really didn't consider this. Where does the energy come from? In fact, it has always been guided from the main universe through the plane nodes. The meaning of the eyes is nothing more than reversing life into death and transforming positive universe energy into negative energy. Xia Guixuan smiled slightly. I have been thinking about this problem since I came here. You control a world and wreak havoc on the undead. With such high control and such a high style, why don't you know the weak points of the world? Since the eyes are integrated with you, have you felt the energy entering the nodes and the transformation process of reversing life into death? Aoli, not only can you not feel it, it will also prevent you from knowing it, because once you find out, the basis of your self-righteous existence will collapse, and you will die. Just like low-level vengeful spirits, there is no difference. Vengeful spirits think they are alive and construct their own cognition with obsession. Once they will recognize the truth, they will dissipate. You understand better than me. Xia Guixuan looked at it with a sigh. If you really die, dissecting your own body to cater to a stronger soul, you will also commit suicide. All the fight stopped. Yao Wu and Yuxun looked at Aoli in surprise. Aoli was suspended in place without moving. His expression began to become dull, as if some spiritual light was being withdrawn. The operation of converting energy was completed the moment it entered the dimension. It was the dimension itself that was converting. Xia Guixuan looked down at the endless void left after the Blood Sea vortex disappeared. The Dragon God once told me that it destroyed a dimension and became a finger after being refined. Everyone was horrified. What does this mean? So the eyes on your body are just a manifestation. They didn't change even after I poked them blind, because the real body is the dimension itself. It is the real eye, and we are all in the eye. And you have long been just its puppet. All the dead air that has been refined is just the old story of the Saint Demon's remnant body absorbing energy by itself. It's just more advanced. It knows how to use people to do it, and it's more efficient. With a light bang, Aoli's soul dissipated itself, turned into stars, scattered into fluorescence, and fell into the void. There was a kind of crystal beauty. Yao Wu was speechless to Yusun. Its original body, corpse, is a dead thousand-edged fantasy monster in the thousand-edged fantasy world. The taking body has its own uses, and I believe we will see it again, Xia Guixuan said lightly. The journey to the thousand-edged fantasy world begins from this world. As he spoke, the 9 cauldrons flew, breaking through the underground space, surveying the 8 directions of the world, and suppressing the 9 provinces. Xia Guixuan floated in the sky, looking at the vast undead, withered bones, ghosts, heads, and broken bodies below. He whispered to himself, break. The 9 cauldrons emitted 9-colored divine fire, circling up, and rushed straight into the sky. Time and space surrounded, light and darkness intertwined, the mist of the deep end broke, and the dawn of the sky entered the space. Xia Guixuan offered sacrifices to the heaven and earth. There seemed to be eyes flashing in the void, and there was nowhere to escape. Master, Yao Wu suppressed the amazement and admiration in her heart, and came to Xia Guixuan and asked in a low voice, if you sacrifice the plane, where will these bones go? The eyes are taken away, but the space that has been opened does not mean it will disappear. I use the 9 cauldrons to determine the 8 directions, open this underworld, and set my rules. From now on, this is the death world of our Kanglong Star region. Boom. The eyes in the void became more and more solid, with a clear sense of shock and anger. Xia Guixuan looked at him calmly. Whether you are a saint demon or a supreme one, I am not afraid of a complete enemy, let alone a broken body. Chapter 368 Grace and Sin. No one knows what will happen to the complete body. But if a mere broken body meets a taking cultivator, it is indeed only worthy of being sacrificed and collected. It is impossible to fight, not to mention that this is Xia Guixuan. This is also the reason why the eyes need to be hidden. If it were someone else, they might think that they are done after dealing with Aoli, and miss the real eye. Unfortunately, in front of a curious baby like Xia Guixuan who wants to get to the bottom of the mystery, they can't hide. It's also a ghost. Not long after, a jade-like eyeball fell into Xia Guixuan's palm. It was sacrificed in the same way as the fingers. It doesn't look creepy. It looks a bit like a beautiful jade with textures. It won't move, no longer absorb energy, no longer transform life and death, no resentment, surprise or anger, and no communication of thoughts. It just lies quietly in the palm of the hand, together with the fingers, containing a mysterious and powerful aura. Seeing Xia Guixuan in deep thought, Yao Wu suddenly had a thought, is this guy assembling action figures? He has a history of action figure hobby. Oh, how can I think in this direction? When he is so devoted to refining the heaven and earth, isn't this idea too disrespectful? Yao Wu felt ashamed of her thoughts. But she heard Xia Guixuan said, do you think this is like assembling action figures, Yao Wu? It's a pity that it feels like a male action figure. Xia Guixuan sighed, then just think of it as assembling Gundam, it's worth it. Luo Wei, hey, why can I feel your thoughts without words, but not Yusun? Where is Yusun? Xia Guixuan turned around and looked around. A slim shadow in the void turned into little Lolly in a panic, and ran over. Master, Xia Guixuan was thinking about other things before, and he didn't really notice her changes. Seeing this, he was a little surprised. That's strange, you don't grow up a little after you become formless? It doesn't make sense. A hint of cunning flashed in Xiang Yuxin's eyes, and she threw herself into the master's arms. It's sick to think about being in people's eyes. Master, hug me. Now it's not in the eyes, it was refined by me, and now this dead world is my redefined world. No matter what, I want a hug. Xia Guixuan suddenly sneered. Who are you going to use that god-slaying gun against, huh? Xiang Yuxin's little face froze, and she quietly stepped back. I just collected more magic weapons, it's normal. Ha. If you just want to collect treasures, why do you have to pretend to be the big head pirates to buy them? Who are you trying to hide it from? Xia Guixuan said slowly. I basically know all kinds of magical powers. Only this kind of technology that disrupts the soul can serve as a surprise weapon for me, right? Xiang Yuxin turned and ran. Help, Master has become possessed by the devil while solving cases. I just tricked you. Who knew you were so gullible? Xia Guixuan grabbed her by the back of the collar. You're confessing now. Tell me, what bad things do you want to do to Master? Xiang Yuxin ran for her life, but in the end she couldn't get out at all. Finally, she hung her head like a salted fish. That was my previous plan, to help someone control you. This time it was Xia Guixuan's turn to have a stiff face. He withdrew his hand with some embarrassment and looked up at the sky. Okay, let's get ready to go back. Xiang Yuxin sighed and asked carefully, can I discuss the secret of the flesh and blood of our dragon clan, and the suspicion about the projection of the Thousand Edges fantasy world with the dragon god? Don't alert the enemy for now. I need to collect more information. I gave the dragon's blood to Yao Wu. We'll discuss it after analyzing the results, Xiang Yuxin said honestly. Yes, she still feels that if we talk about dragons, it's the master, no one else's, including the dragon, and she herself was not originally. Only now can she be considered to be on the road to becoming a true dragon. It's so right to worship this master. It's a pity that he doesn't seem to like Lolly. Why didn't he show that kind of intention? Did he think wrong? The little Lolly scratched her head, a little entangled. Seeing that the master and apprentice had finished talking nonsense, Yao Wu couldn't help but say, how do we deal with the undead here? Leave them as they are, for the time being, leave them as they are. Anyway, no one cared about them before, and they lived quite happily. Wait until I go back to consider some rules, and then arrange someone to be responsible for the order of the 6 reincarnations. Xia Guixuan pondered and said, Soul Abyss can only be in charge of the punishment hell at most. If he really takes charge of reincarnation, a guy like him will definitely seek personal gain. I'm still considering. Yao Wu said nothing. Her attributes are quite suitable, but she is not willing to do this, even though it sounds like controlling the entire Star World 6 reincarnations is considered a great use. Xia Guixuan didn't pay attention to what she was thinking, and glanced at Luo Wei's ghost in the cauldron. Let's talk about it when we get back. Management Office of Jimeo Star. Xia Guixuan was soaking in the hot spring, closing his eyes to rest. Coming out of the dead world, even if the practice was spotless, everyone felt uncomfortable psychologically, and they all went to bathe. Xia Guixuan bathed for a particularly long time. He soaked in the fountain of life sold on Jimeo Star for a day and a night without coming out. I don't know which civilization studied this spring water, maybe a magical civilization. The breath of life in the spring water is very rich, which can effectively heal injuries, nourish life, and even increase lifespan and restore youth to a certain extent. But the effect is still insufficient for taking's drug resistance, but it is better than nothing. Yes, he was in a long confrontation period, with one god protecting 3 legs, which was not easy on the surface. Although the opponent's strength was piled up, half a step to the supreme is half a step to the supreme, no joke. It might be okay to fight alone, but it was a pity that there were 3 oil bottles. The graying of hair was not to be cool, but the life was really lost in the collision of laws. It seemed that it did not affect the combat effectiveness, and it seemed nothing to his almost endless lifespan, but this was the performance of sub-health. For the breakthrough of the Tao, which could not have the slightest deviation, it was a dream to expect any progress in the sub-healthy state. This problem must be eliminated. Of course, it was not difficult to eliminate it. The lost life, just make up for it. It was not difficult to make up for this with the resources of a star domain overlord. It was nothing more than spending a few more days looking for things, not as difficult as a real injury. Xia Guixuan had asked his apprentice Duabao and Maya to help find treasures for treatment. He did not take it too seriously in his heart, but people with conscience did not think so. Yao Wu peered quietly behind him, looking at his white hair without saying a word. Xia Guixuan didn't open his eyes or turn around, and said calmly, Do you know that this sudden appearance behind me without notification while I am recuperating is a very dangerous signal? If I thought you had ulterior motives, you would be dead now, Yao Wu whispered. When the battle was at its most critical, you didn't think I had ulterior motives. So your behavior at that time was not stupid, on the contrary, it was a test of me. Yao Wu was silent for a moment, and whispered, I don't know, maybe there are a little bit of all kinds of thoughts, not just one. Xia Guixuan closed his eyes and said nothing. Yao Wu felt a little sorry. If there was no intention of testing, and it was simply a temporary hesitation for personal reasons, he had white hair because of protecting him, which was a favor. If there was an intention of testing, I was a newly surrendered subordinate, and I actually tested my master in a crisis, causing injuries and even the collapse of the battle, which was a sin. All kinds of factors were involved, so he was grateful, and I was guilty. The stubborn and old-fashioned Zelt original people have always been very clear about this. She slowly knelt behind him and bowed her head, saying, Yao Wu, I'm here to apologize. In my eyes, this is necessary for adjustment. We are new to each other, so we have our doubts. I can trust you and protect you, so I can get your respect and protection. This is mutual. So in my opinion, this is not a test from you, but a test from God for our future. I kept it, and I'm glad you kept it too. You are innocent. Yao Wu raised her head slightly, looking at his back, with a complex expression in her eyes. Do you blame yourself for seeing my gray hair? Yes, then. Xia Guixuan opened his eyes, looked at the hot spring mist in front of him, and suddenly smiled and said, Would you like to dance for me? Chapter 369, I am willing to dance for you. Yao Wu knew why he was so stubborn in bringing up the past. It was still dancing, but the meaning was different. At first, he wanted to humiliate this enemy in front of everyone, but later he respected her self-esteem and did not force it. He only used it as an opportunity to test the gap between her self-esteem as an emperor and the lack of moral integrity of the evil thoughts. Now it is privately, the master and servant training. Because before, she didn't look like a servant at all, and she was not even qualified as a subordinate. When everyone was inspecting, she took the initiative to attack and expose her whereabouts. The battle situation actually contained the meaning of testing him, putting everyone in crisis. He verbally called himself master and kept asking for forgiveness, but in fact, where did he regard himself as a servant? Not to mention servants, even subordinates were reluctant, and even had hostility. Even the enemy knew that this could be instigated. But Xia Guixuan did not blame her previous performance and said not guilty. He did not force orders, but just asked, Are you willing? The choice is still hers. She can refuse, or, willing. There is no humiliation, but it is full of expectations. Of course she can dance. She has not forgotten the memory of merging with Long Gao. How could the fox demon not dance? Even if she couldn't dance before, she knows it now. When she can let go of the past, the dignity of the queen, and dance for him willingly, she will truly let go of the knot in her heart. Just saying that, then just one dance is fine, it's nothing. But Yao Wu knew that he had another intention. He just wanted to see her body and her beauty. He wanted to see how she danced, to see the body wrapped in armor showing off to him, to see the silent and restrained shadow lightning showing her charming flattery, so he couldn't forget it. Otherwise, why did he have to use dancing? There are many other ways to prove it. Yao Wu was silent, and a little blush gradually appeared on her resolute face. How could she be defeated and captured by such a person? It's not that he was a pervert, at least he didn't really play with a captive. But this. You might as well force her to play with me. I can still tell myself that I was forced. No matter how this is calculated now, it will make people blush, make people feel confused, and make people take the initiative to do things that would be better than death. But, he thinks it looks good. In a sense, is this something worth being happy about? Show it to those who think it looks good. She raised her head slightly and looked at his snow-white hair. The words of rejection were stuck in her throat, but she couldn't say it. Her lips moved for a long time, and finally turned into an inaudible sentence. I am willing to dance for you. Xia Guixuan blinked twice. A light breeze passed by her, and Yao Wu stepped in the ripples of the pool water and entered the mist in the pool. She had just come out of the bath, no longer wearing the golden armor, but just an ordinary temple robe, with dark blue energy flowing, golden silk threads pressing the edges, with mystery, seriousness, dignity, and beauty. The long black hair was like a waterfall, floating with a light rotation, like the deepest night in the universe. The eyes were like lightning, like meteors, like lightning, like the collision of fire in the universe, flashing lightly in the night, suddenly glancing past, and then pursing the lips to void, just like a fleeting mystery. Hidden in the exploration of the depths of the universe. The lotus feet stepped on the water, without shoes, not like jade limbo, not like pearl white, with a healthy and wild color, as if a goddess walked out of an ancient tribe, crushing the sea and sky. So the war drums were excited, lightning flashed, and the blue and purple electric light intertwined in the sky and the sea, like an ancient war song. Wildlife, the body is full of explosive power, perfect curves, and primitive desires. This limbo micro-step in the pool of water, in the mind, would be a fairy dance that is ethereal and empty, without music, but it was danced into a universe with war drums. Putting aside the affairs of men and women, this is the dance of taking, which has its own avenue in it. Xia Guixuan watched and actually had some understanding of the way, and gradually lost himself. The stars fell, the lightning stopped, the dusk was heavy, the sea and sky were vast. The smoke and waves passed, the clouds dispersed and the rain stopped. Yao Wu stopped, the blush on her face almost spread to her body. She stretched her body and whispered, "The dance is over." Xia Guixuan was still staring at her in a trance. Yao Wu wanted to cover her body in shame and anger, but found that there was nothing to cover, and she didn't take it off. But his gaze was staring at her, it was just burning and uncomfortable. She felt like she was naked when he was staring at her. She wanted to run away, but that was a kind of self-willed without being told. So she stood there at a loss, like a lamb waiting to be judged. Xia Guixuan finally came to his senses, and seeing that she didn't know where to put her hands, he suddenly smiled. "It looks good, Yao Wu," Xia Guixuan said. "Tell me, how can you bear to let such a body disappear?" There was indeed no intention of humiliation, but it was still a pervert. Yao Wu's shame and anger disappeared, and she couldn't help but said, "If you think it looks good, I should keep it, huh? Then I think your white hair looks good, so you should not restore it, huh?" Xia Guixuan was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "You think it looks good?" Yao Wu seemed to realize that there was something wrong with what he said. She turned her head slightly, stiffened her neck and said, "Can't I have my own aesthetic sense?" "Yes," Xia Guixuan smiled slightly. "Since you think it looks good, then keep it this color from now on." Yao Wu was stunned for a moment, turned her head blankly and looked at his expression. Xia Guixuan smiled slightly, very casually. "What I want to adjust is the essence of the passing of life, not the appearance. In terms of appearance, if you think this looks good, then do it as you like." Yao Wu was silent for a moment, and his voice faded. "Well, what if other people think black looks good?" Xia Guixuan blinked. "Black in front of others, white in front of you." Yao Wu finally laughed out loud. "There are so many women around you. If each of them has a different aesthetic, and you have a different hair color every day, I don't know if a week will be enough." Xia Guixuan also laughed and patted the edge of the pool beside him. "Do you want to take a bath together?" Yao Wu didn't feel ashamed or angry, and said with a stern face, "Is this the master's order? This is teasing, then I refuse. What if it's an order? Then I'll rebel?" "Ha ha ha," Xia Guixuan laughed. "Then, come and pinch my shoulders." Yao Wu curled her lips, but didn't refuse this. She slowly stepped on the water to his side, hesitated for a moment, and finally soaked in the water with him. Then she patted his shoulder, turned away. Xia Guixuan turned around obediently. Yao Wu let him lean on her, gently pinched his shoulders, and said nothing more. Since they were master and servant, and they were dancing for him, this seemed to be the right thing to do. But he was not wearing anything, just leaning naked on her body, which was only in a silk robe, and it felt like there was no difference between them. Aren't they still taking a bath together? I don't know why, but I have no shame. How did it become like this? All the self-esteem and reserve were danced away by a dance? Maybe it was because he was so defenseless. Yao Wu looked at his back and neck, knowing that if she had any ill intentions, he would really be in trouble this time. But the more she thought about it, the less she could think about it, and the more she massaged it with her hands. Her research on the flesh and blood of life not only knew how to hurt the other party with one blow, but also knew where to press and how much force to make the other party more comfortable. Maybe he was right. Everyone needs to get along with each other. I can trust you and protect you, only in return for your respect and protection, even if it is the mind of an emperor. He accepted it. Yao Wu didn't look at the blood vessels in his neck again, and her eyes soon fell on the white hair. It's really good looking. Recommended book. My wife, a sword saint in another world. Am I considered a hero saving a beauty just now? No. You saved them. The breeze gently blew the girl's hair. She gently rolled her hair and stopped. The slender body leaned forward slightly, and the girl tilted her head to look at Su Fei. A pair of eyes as clear as lake water, bright and transparent as stars, long eyelashes swaying gently with breathing, beautiful to the point of palpitating. The slender fingers gently tapped on his chest, helped him button up, and the girl's silver bell-like voice rang again. Fighting is wrong, only children think it's cool. The story begins with a hero's cohabitation with his girlfriend, and leads the hero into a fantasy world of swords and magic. Unlike the ordinary daily life, this is a magnificent epic love drama. I hope you like it. Chapter 370 Sin on the Road. What is beautiful is not the white hair itself. It is his persistence in standing in front of her at that time, and this white hair is the proof that he almost lost for it. Whenever I see it, I can remember his back, who was fighting against a law of half-step supremacy and never retreating. I can also remember his wisdom of seeing through everything and his strength that could rival the supreme power during the whole incident. Even if the hair turns green, Yao Wu will think it is very beautiful. Of course, if it is green, Xia Guixuan will go crazy. Yao Wu felt like laughing when thinking about it. You change your hair color every day, and you can have whatever you like. It sounds good, but I really want you to change it to green and try it? What are you laughing at? Xia Guixuan suddenly said. Yao Wu frowned. I'm not laughing, you are laughing in your stomach. You soon said that you have become possessed by the devil when solving the case. Really not laughing, really not laughing, then smile. Xia Guixuan said, I have been thinking about something just now. When you said that the hair color changes every day, was that the first time you smiled at me? Yao Wu was stunned for a moment, and her hands stopped massaging. It seems so. She had never smiled at him before, and she had forgotten whether it was a forced smile or not. It was definitely the first time for her to smile truly. But it seemed like she didn't feel anything special, because she still wanted to smile. Xia Guixuan suddenly turned his head to look at her. Yao Wu immediately frowned. But she forgot that Xia Guixuan was leaning in her arms, very close to her. With this turn of heads, they were almost face to face, and if she moved forward, she could kiss her face. What she should have done was to step back immediately, instead of frowning. What's the point of frowning? Yao Wu's face turned red quickly, and electricity flashed in her eyes. The electricity in your eyes moves when you're shy. Yao Wu was so angry that she wanted to hide him. The electricity in my eyes also moves when I'm angry. Is this called electric eyes? It electrified me, really electric eyes. Really electrified people. If you understand it this way, Yao Wu wants to dig out her eyes, otherwise wouldn't that mean she's always flirting with people? Yao Wu still thinks Xia Guixuan's XP is too weird. How could he be interested in eyes made of lightning? Still teasing like this unscrupulously. She simply closed her eyes. Xia Guixuan was stunned for a moment and almost laughed out loud. I didn't expect this queen to be so cute. You really don't know what it means to close your eyes like this? What's the difference between this and asking for a kiss? Thinking of this, Xia Guixuan's heart moved slightly. In the bathtub, there was a gauze separating the two. The angry closed eyes, the rosy cheeks, the silent self-esteem and the sharpness all disappeared with the closure of the eyes. What was in front of him was a weak and angry young wife who could be bullied at any time. He couldn't help it. Yao Wu suddenly found that her lips were packed. She was used to electric current, but she felt something electric passing through her. She widened her eyes in surprise. Then the electric current flashed, and the air in the whole bathtub seemed like thunder. Xia Guixuan, you are such a tyrant, I misjudged you. Swish, bang, a lightning storm exploded, and the whole bathroom collapsed. Xia Guixuan wrapped himself in a bath towel and ran away. You closed your eyes yourself. Do you want to check what this means? Is it a trap? A female bishop in a church robe was chasing him, holding a shadow sword. You still want to trap me? I'll turn you into a zombie and trap you. Stop right there. You can't just chop with that knife. Are you serious? The whole Jimeo Star was in chaos, with explosions and roars everywhere, and after a while, it was silent again. People carefully tried to find out what happened, but they couldn't find out anything. Only the mushrooms in the management office knew that the invincible Mr. Xia was beaten, and the beating stopped because Luo Wei came and saved Mr. Xia. Luo Wei, the cyborg who had just returned to Kangong Star with the Galaxy Fleet, received a call and crossed the starfield wormhole, rushing back in a dusty manner to meet his other half. So Xia Guixuan, who was crouching with his head in his hands, restrained the rebels. Now it's time to do something serious. We'll fight again tonight. Yu Wu was restrained and unable to move, staring angrily. My dear, you are also concerned about Luo Wei's matter, right? The rebellion was declared a failure. Xia Guixuan led Luo away to the underground, and Yu Wu followed behind with a stern face, with an expression of indescribable shame and anger. At first glance, it seemed no different from the past. The newly surrendered captives followed a new master expressionlessly, obeyed reluctantly under the circumstances, and had a hidden hostility in their hearts. Well, there was no difference. Sir, Luo Wei was talking to Xia Guixuan in front. I do have memories of uploading my consciousness in the past, but in my memory it was a failed attempt and there was no follow-up. To be honest, your report surprised me. I don't feel that I have forgotten anything, nor do I feel that I have any personality deficiencies. It seems that it makes no difference to me whether I have it or not. You see, I will be afraid of you, and I will also feel admiration and respect. This is not the emotion of a robot, Xia Guixuan said. Do you have hatred? Yes, I have always remembered the hatred of Kindling Fantasy Realm destroying my realm. I am willing to participate in your forces for this reason. Do you have obsessions and ideals? Yes, sir, you should be very clear about my lifelong ideal, which is very similar to yours. That is, I want to create artificial gods. Then do you have love? Do you feel that you only have responsibilities, supporting your parents, supporting the country, and taking revenge when you are destroyed? That's all. You can't find the reason why you do this, you just have to do it. Do you feel that your scientific research is getting more and more into a dead end, because there is only inheritance or expansion, and you have lost creativity and imagination? Luo Wei stopped. Other things don't seem to matter to it, but the last point hits the nail on the head. If we talk about the path of an individual, or simply the setting of the chip, this is its eternal pursuit, which is much more important than revenge and family love, and it is something that can be abandoned to pursue. Perhaps what was uploaded was not the soul, but these elements in human nature, obstacles to pursuit. But it is precisely the abandonment of those that hinders the pursuit of the path, the loss of the splendor of imagination, and the loss of vertical and horizontal creativity. There is only inheritance, no rebirth. Xia Guixuan glanced at him, and Luo Wei was also looking at him. The two looked at each other for a long time, and Xia Guixuan sighed in a low voice. There are 3,000 great ways, but they can always be confirmed in different places, just like me. I corrected it. It depends on your choice. Yao Wu looked at him thoughtfully and said nothing. Your correction is to tease your subordinates and kiss randomly. Bah. We have arrived at the basement. The vast underground core system, next to the metal sphere, is also node gateway to the dead world. Luo Wei's ghost quietly looked at the metal sphere, as if studying it, or waiting. Hearing the sound of the door, the ghost turned around and saw his predecessor. The ghost and the man looked at each other, but they were already separated by a lifetime. The past came one after another, and both Luo Wei suddenly remembered what they had forgotten. A semi-finished mechanical girl with major defects cried in front of the robot recycling station, "Don't recycle me. You are killing people." The prince who was patrolling here was struck in the heart at that moment. So he felt that his lifelong ideal, creating a robot with consciousness and emotions, was actually a sin. The heart of Tao collapsed, and there was no further progress. The highly expected Prince Luo Wei sank. Ao Li is lying to me, Luo Wei whispered to himself. I uploaded my consciousness to the cloud and replaced my thoughts with chips, not to pursue immortality, but to escape. If it is a sin, the sin is in the Tao. From the beginning, such research should not have happened. P.S. I have to ask for leave tomorrow. I bought a house last time, and I have an appointment to transfer the ownership tomorrow. I will move directly after the transfer, so I can't write any more. It just so happens that I have been stuck in writing recently, so I can take this opportunity to slow down and change my mind. I feel unlucky. I finally got a great recommendation, but I asked for leave in the recommendation position. It's really painful. Chapter 371 I think I am live. The two Luo Wei sat face to face with their hands in their pockets. Both of them looked a bit tangled and painful. The past is gone, the path and escape, that is another topic, perhaps the topic that Xia Guixuan is waiting for, but not the topic between them. Whether Ao Li lied or not is another matter. Maybe he didn't lie, but just judged it based on your situation. God knows whether you are doing it for immortality or scientific research, or for other reasons. Scolding someone for lying to you is more boring than blaming others. The key event is true. It is true that he uploaded his consciousness to the cloud and kept it, thinking that it was also a kind of ascension, but it turned out to be suicide. Now the painful thing is whether to merge or not, and how to merge. Although the cyborg Luo Wei here is the chip-dominated consciousness, their technology is so awesome that it is indistinguishable from the real thing. That is to say, this Luo Wei has his own thinking, his own cognition, his own fear and respect, and the subsequent choice of service objects, new life and colleagues, are all his own, and have nothing to do with the original Prince Luo Wei. Just pick up a ghost and take over the body and take the lead. The cyborg Luo Wei is not convinced. But the tragedy is that it seems unable to refuse. The 3 laws of robotics are still in effect. When the original owner's consciousness wants to come back, it must obey. In fact, it will not obey and have the idea of rejection, which is already a sign of transcending the 3 laws of robotics and having its own thoughts. But having an idea does not mean that it can refuse. It can't refuse. That is a law imprinted in the depths of the soul. Perhaps it must go through real soul practice, such as wuxiang or even taking, before it can be freed? It's your own choice. Why do you want to turn back? Aren't you also killing me? The cyborg Luo Wei tried to negotiate. Isn't it a bit too much? The ghost Luo Wei pursed his lips and drooped his head without insisting. It was indeed wrong. It also tried to negotiate, but in your current state, it is difficult to achieve the research goals you want. You are missing a lot. After you merge in, can you still focus on the chip? Maybe not. My consciousness is higher than yours. This is a setting. Set your mother, the cyborg swore. The ghost put his hands in his pockets and was scolded. Even the reaction to the scolding was set by its own personality. This is like I set myself to scold myself and accept the scolding. It held it in for a long time, feeling guilty, and stammered, "My mother is your mother." That's not necessarily true. From a manufacturing perspective, you can be said to be my parents, or to be the specific manufacturing workers. Or the workers are my father, and you who provided the settings are my mother. It seems like you've been gang raped. Why can't I start a harem? Because you don't have that ability. The cyborg pointed to his body. Even this body doesn't have that ability. That thing is made of metal. It's strange. What did you think at the time? Do you think this will last longer? Ghost, I forgot. Maybe I thought this would cut off some inappropriate thoughts, or I planned to change the reproduction mechanism. Idiot. This is martyrdom. Xia Guixuan couldn't listen anymore. Hey, are you guys having fun? Do you think there is a spark of love between you and yourself? No. The cyborg smiled apologetically. Mr. Xia, you can do everything. You can even reshape the body of the Fox King. Can you help this guy make a body? No, Xia Guixuan said, it is not a complete soul. Part of its consciousness is still with you. The body molded in this way cannot be combined. The only way to combine is with you. In fact, you each have shortcomings, and it is better to be united, just like Long Yao's good and evil thoughts. Without fusion, each of them is an incomplete person, and there is no benefit. The cyborg sighed. Then I have to die. Sir, you went to the dead world, but you killed me. In my personal feelings, I prefer you to be the leader. You are my subordinate, and it is not. The cyborg smiled slightly. Thank you very much, sir, but this may not be possible, not necessarily. Because you already have self-awareness and are separated from the original design. This is very likely the result of the destruction of your mechanical plane, and you're leaving the plane. The laws of the main universe are higher than your original world, and you have more contact with practitioners like me, and slowly things have changed. Xia Guixuan whispered to himself. The program that was created gave birth to its own ideas due to some accidents. The cyborg and the ghost looked at each other, wondering what he was thinking of. Xia Guixuan came to his senses and said, so you have a soul. I can disperse the ghost and inject it into this body just like I did with the obscure evil thoughts. It will still be dominated by a semi-mechanical soul. The ghost hung his head, biased. Isn't this killing me? Nonsense. Of course I am biased towards my subordinates. It's none of my business if you committed suicide. You still want to be resurrected. Why should I be your father? Xia Guixuan suddenly asked. I just glimpsed the strong memory that you all shared. The crying of a mechanical girl when she was recycled touched your hearts, right? Well, the ghost Luo Wei whispered. At that moment I felt that I was killing people. It was a crime to create machine life. Did she develop self-awareness? No. If she really had self-awareness, then if she was destroyed, it would be regarded as death, and it would not be so entangled. But she actually thought she was a living being because our setting was too real, but she was not. When she was recycled after a malfunction, she felt like we were killing her. But she couldn't resist because she was said to be obedient. Xia Guixuan's expression became more and more ugly. Thinking he was a living being, but not. Was it the dragon god? What about others? The cyborg also looked very unhappy. Wasn't it in this state before, thinking he was Luo Wei, but when the original owner appeared in front of it, it still had to face the fate of being killed. Life and death are predetermined. Either you dissipate or you reincarnate, Xia Guixuan said slowly. If your consciousness did not enter this strange world of the dead, but really went through reincarnation, then there would be no such entanglement now. One day, when the mechanical Luo Wei reaches the aging period of its chip, it will also die. Without his soul, everything will end. The half-mechanical Luo Wei's heart moved. Sir, do you want to make a related system? Yes. You have been with me for a while. You are the one who operates the various systems of the temple. You should know my inner thoughts. The temple system is a rehearsal. Do you have confidence in the 6 reincarnation system? It's too difficult, sir. No, this time I don't require a spirit, and I don't need any corresponding laws. I just need the coldest judgment. As long as the laws are set, it will be simple. At most, the system is a little complicated. It's simpler to say that, but how can a simple system allow the undead to circulate? The system doesn't have this ability. I will build a channel to the dimension. For example, if the system determines that this person needs to be punished, the bull-headed horse-faced guard will take him to a certain channel and throw him down, where the soul abyss will receive him. If the system determines that this person can go to heaven, it will let him enter the light of guidance. All the staff including the bull-headed horse-faced guard can be real robots. This is truly selfless, and no one can get away with favors. The cyborg Luo Wei's eyes lit up, and even the ghost's eyes lit up. This kind of approach of combining myths with scientific and technological methods to create a scientific creation is very interesting to any researcher. If we say that there must be a spirit, it's not completely absent. Because even if it's a system, it needs a maintainer and a GM to deal with some things that are not easy for a simple system to judge. Xia Guixuan looked at Luo Wei's ghost. If your consciousness is allowed to return to the mechanical body, and only some human judgments are left to be combined with the new system, I wonder if you are willing to take this matter, so that your own tragedy will not happen again. If you want to talk about martyrdom, this is it. It depends on your own opinion. I won't force you. I thought it was a brain replacement, but in fact I was almost brainless. 5555 broadband was dragged on and refused to install it for me, so I had to use a data cable to connect to my mobile phone to send it. It's too miserable. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372, Is the second time still far away? Leave the two Luo Wei and let them think for themselves. After all, it is a major event in life. Xia Guixuan does not want to force people to make a choice like a villain boss. The key is that his emotions are not online at the moment. He was still very silent on the way out, and his expression was not very good. Suspicion about some things cannot only be applied to others, but even to everyone, including himself. Who can't be like this when he thinks he's alive? After all, it's all self-righteousness. Of course, when he reached taking, he had already exceeded the 3 realms and was not on the 5 elements. Even the dimension of time and space could not limit him, let alone the cognition of the self. It was impossible to go wrong. However, the situation of the dragon god kept lingering in his mind. The dragon god was not only taking, but also the peak. How could that look like a clear cognition? If he only reached the peak level of taking in terms of energy, he actually did not have enough cognition of the laws. It was unreasonable. I had come into contact with the strength of the dragon god, and it was not like this fake. But what if even the cognition of the laws was instilled and set, just like the spirit of my own temple? I don't know why, but since I came out of seclusion in this life, I have been involved in related thinking, and even every step of my experience seems to be able to get together with ease. The more I build connections, the more terrifying it is. The little fox is not myself. In a sense, it can be said that Yin Xiaoru does not exist. She is actually Long Yao, who exists under a different name. Yan Wuai was a genetically modified person. She originally did not even know her origins. Everyone's first acquaintance was also connected by the illegal investigation of modification and splicing. Ling Moxu's bloodline was replaced, which affected her soul and made her enslaved. Was she still herself at that time? Guangxin Jiu is fake in both sexes, and which of the interactions between the game and reality is real? Will the NPCs in the game world feel that they are real one day? Long Gaiao has one soul and 3 places. Who is Long Gaiao? Shuang's Haoi's soul erases Long Gaiao, and the Fox King's consciousness affects the soul. The good centaur warrior has a conspiracy. Yao Wu first combines flesh and blood, and then combines evil thoughts. Who is the self and what is the origin? Xia Guixuan feels that her bloodline is different, and even the identity of the dragon has lost recognition, so she worships another famous teacher. What is a dragon? Everything can be attributed to the origin of life and what exists. This should have been a problem that was solved when there was no form, and it gave rise to different paths for different people, that is, different schools of philosophy. Just like Xia Guixuan has now transcended the limitations of blood, and is now formless. But isn't there still a hidden level that has not been unlocked, so that even taking may not be clear? Just like the program encryption that Yao Wu mentioned? Yao Wu said him unwillingly with a sour face. Since Luo Wei is here, you can ask him to study the drop of dragon blood together after they have made a decision. Anyway, building the 6-path system will take time, so do yours first. Yeah, Yu Wu didn't want to pay attention to him, but she couldn't hold it in for a long time. You can use a system to solve the 6 paths of reincarnation judgment in a fair and clear way, but what if you can't control the situation? After all, the system itself has no strength, and Luo Wei's ghost is only 10 yun. This eye has relevant laws, life and death, oblivion, judgment and tracing. Since the memories and practice of those who enter its dead world can be suppressed, our dead world can also be set up accordingly. I can inject the laws into the system, which is similar to the spirit of the temple. It can't be suppressed above the formless, so their bone dragons and butler ghosts all have formless, which is basically the ability they had before they were alive, but they are biased because they lack a physical body. The Yang God itself is still very strong. The formless ones have already transcended the 3 realms and are not subject to this restriction. To put it bluntly, unless the formless ones are completely wiped out or actively seek reincarnation, they will not enter the cycle of reincarnation. Otherwise, what is the point of you and me practicing? Isn't it for this? What if there are external formless ones making trouble? That's a bit of a headache. In the final analysis, it's still a question of my control and deterrence, right? I think it's hard for you to have this, huh? You can put restrictions on the captives and force them to obey. Instead of doing it, kiss them secretly. Why do you sound like you really want me to put restrictions on them? Yao Wu kept a straight face and didn't say anything. Really wanted to. Because then you wouldn't have to be as upset as you are now. Anyway, you can't resist it and it's not your fault. What is this now? She was kissed secretly, and she was obviously very annoyed, but she took the initiative to follow him to make suggestions and fill in the gaps, and listen to his arrangements to analyze the blood, like a little wife without temper. It's so embarrassing. Xia Guixuan looked at her with a smile, as if he could see through her thoughts, and suddenly said, "Hey, actually you still have something on me, such as I can abuse your people." Yao Wu widened her eyes. "You dare? Why shouldn't I dare? This is one of the reasons why you submitted to me. Have you forgotten it yourself, eh?" Xia Guixuan took a step forward. Yao Wu took a step back. Soon they were forced into the corner, and Xia Guixuan lifted her chin. Electricity flashed in Yao Wu's eyes. She suppressed her extreme anger and looked into his eyes coldly. Xia Guixuan looked at her for a while, shook his head and sighed. "This is meaningless." Yao Wu was stunned, and held back the words she wanted to curse, not knowing how to say it. Xia Guixuan sighed. If this is not a deterrent, then there is no deterrent. After that, he let her go and turned to leave. A strange color flashed in Yao Wu's eyes, and she pouted subconsciously, stood up from the wall again, and followed behind angrily. "Hey, you're still following me? You hinted that it would be bad for my people. What can I do?" "So that was a hint?" "Yes, it was an explicit hint," Yao Wu said with contempt. "I understand this mind game. In that case, how about another dance?" "Go to hell," Xia Guixuan said, "then pinch my shoulders again? It's very comfortable. Don't take the opportunity to touch me again, or I really dare to chop you." "Okay, I definitely won't touch you. Sit down there." The so-called there is still the bathing pool. Xia Guixuan is a wounded person and is still recovering. What really got interrupted was not the kiss, but Luo Wei's business, and it was a distraction to the real business. This time when he went back to soak in the spring water again. Xia Guixuan leaned against the edge of the bathing pool and did not continue to tease Yao Wu. Even though the little episode just now, he was not in a very good mood, otherwise he might not mention the tribe, which did imply a threat. His mind was on the puzzle, and he gradually became absent-minded. Yao Wu didn't say anything else, silently pinching his shoulders, and slowly turned into kneading his temples. In fact, the less Xia Guixuan spoke and teased her, the more willing she would be. The more he teased her, the more she couldn't let go of her face. But Yao Wu stared at him frowning and thinking, and for some reason she felt a little inexplicably distressed. She didn't know how long she could hold on to this face. She was so willing to be his servant. He pinched her shoulders once, and then a second time. After dancing once, would the second time be far away? After kissing once, would the second time be far away? Yao Wu didn't want to think about it, she just hoped that he wouldn't make trouble again. Isn't this kind of time of mutual silence good? But, he seemed to think it was really beautiful. Yao Wu was distracted, and her cheeks turned red unconsciously. She didn't know when it started, but the hatred for her body had long disappeared, and was replaced by secret joy. Just because he was greedy? How shameless. Chapter 373 If the world is fake. Luo Wei didn't waste time, he wasn't a sticky and tangled person. Xia Guixuan hadn't been taking a bath for half an hour when Luo Wei's ghost came to ask for a meeting. Xia Guixuan didn't put on airs, he just let him in to talk by the side of the bath. The ghost floated in, watching Xia Guixuan leaning on Yu Wu with his eyes closed. Yu Wu lowered her eyebrows and eyes and rubbed his head with a blushing face. He was a little helpless to complain. When Yu Wu saw it coming, it seemed to be more embarrassed as if being watched by others. Her face was a little stern, but she didn't stop serving, still rubbing gently, trying to make a look that I rub my own and it has nothing to do with others. Luo Wei, this Yu Wu is Tai Qing, and she is also a generation of empress. Before, she caught herself in the dead world, saying I took action to find it. That's a request, how domineering. And then this? This scene is really inconsistent no matter how you look at it. The strong desire to complain made Luo Wei almost forget what he wanted to say. But I understand it a little bit, ghosts are not machines, they understand human emotions. The whole battle took place in the cauldron. Xia Guixuan stood in front of Yao Wu and did not move no matter what the attack was, so her hair turned white. It was normal for a woman to be touched by watching the snowy hair gradually spread. She might even think in her heart that I compromised for the sake of my people and found a good excuse. Understanding is understanding, but when the woman was Yao Wu, Luo Wei still felt that she should be tougher and more resolute. Don't be like this. Hey, Xia Guixuan spoke, his tone a little bit bad. You come in and stare at my Yao Wu endlessly. What do you mean? Be careful or I'll beat you up. What do you mean by my Yao Wu? Luo Wei bulged his eyes, and Yao Wu's eyes also flashed with electricity, but they were both silent. After a long while, Luo Wei sighed. I'm a ghost now, and I won't be a ghost for much longer. Xia Guixuan smiled and said, have you decided? Well, I'm already dead, and it's unfair to the new Luo Wei to want to go back. If I take part of my humanity and inject it back into it, to some extent, it means that my life is still continuing. Anyway, its ideas are basically my ideas, and I don't think it's a big deal. You're quite open-minded. Is it because you died once? Because I have nothing else to miss? Luo Wei sighed. Sir, I'm very grateful to you for letting me make my own decision instead of forcibly breaking my will. After all, from your point of view, I'm competing for my life with your subordinates, and it's not a big deal if you don't beat me to death. The so-called decision for you actually means that you have no other choice. Don't you know? So what if you know? It's my own decision after all. So is anything else important? You're so reasonable all of a sudden, and I can't see that bad temper anymore. The so-called bad temper, it can be regarded as the temper of a straight man in scientific research. It is also due to his high birth, which he has developed since childhood. But his birth is long gone, and now he is a down-and-out avenger, so what temper can he talk about? Mechanical Luo Wei saw the current situation earlier than me. He knew that the possibility of revenge under the command of the master can be realized, and it is also a platform for realizing ideals. So you are willing to let it continue this ideal, because ideals are more important than life, but don't you think your ideals are sins, so I escape and let it come? Fuck, Luo Wei, isn't it very logical? Xia Guixuan, I want to beat up Yao Wu. Yao Wu didn't bother to pay attention to him. Luo Wei said, after what I saw in the dead world this time, I feel that this kind of thing is both sinful and exciting. I want to escape, but I can't help wanting to see more, Xia Guixuan said. Huh? Luo Wei said solemnly, because I found that not only life, but even the world can be fake. Xia Guixuan opened his eyes. My consciousness was uploaded to the cloud. The cloud server is a world in itself. I don't know if it was misplaced or taken away by Aoli. Anyway, I came to this world of death, Luo Wei asked, assuming that the foundation of this world of death is the world expanded from my cloud server. What do you think, sir? Xia Guixuan's expression became serious. Not really. Continue. I believe you also know about virtual reality games. That is also the consciousness entering a server. The consciousness and the body are separated, just like the experience of a real person. How different is it from mine? In fact, my uploading was based on the inspiration of this kind of game before I started to study it, Luo Wei said seriously. Can this world of death be regarded as my soul in a game world, and my body is a subordinate here, sir? Yu Wu's fingers that were pinching her head paused, and she felt a little breathless. Xia Guixuan was certainly not unfamiliar with this kind of virtual reality game, even too familiar with it. He had picked up girls, had sex, and was a competitive star in the game. But if no one reminded him, he really wouldn't think from this angle. Luo Wei learned a lesson by himself. It was too similar. If my server can become such a dead world, then can other game worlds also be transformed into a real world by some great power, or even though it is not real, the people in it all think they are real lives? NPCs don't know they are just data, and players don't know others are NPCs. Everyone thinks this is real. Luo Wei began to tremble as he spoke. I even began to question the current world, whether I am in someone's game. Xia Guixuan pursed his lips. Luo Wei trembled and hugged himself. Then a certain GM restarted the world. Pop, the universe reopened. Or if a certain NPC needs to be modified, it becomes a different person. Or when the expansion pack is updated, everyone has a scene of the doomsday reopening in their minds, and naturally rushes into a new era. The previous data is either sealed or destroyed and sent to the recycling plant. No one knows that there was once a world there, with countless living people in it, and only mountains of metal ruins are left. Crack. Xia Guixuan unconsciously crushed the edge of the bathtub, his expression extremely solemn. Guixu? This is the first reaction. Although they don't quite match, but in essence, are they similar? Luo Wei looked at his face and trembled. Sir, are you also afraid? Xia Guixuan said in a cold tone. What is there to be afraid of? If you find out it's fake, just blow it up. If the sky can be torn apart, how about games? Yes, Luo Wei sighed. I am a coward. I really want to watch it, but I am afraid. The chip is less afraid than me. It can. Sir is so powerful, you can also, powerful. Xia Guixuan shook his head. That may not be the case, it's already very strong. I have never seen a life as powerful as yours, and you have enough wisdom and power, Luo Wei whispered. The truth of the world is under your feet. I am willing to help you this time. Sir's 6 reincarnations, if it can make me stronger, I am willing to be a part of it. Maybe in the future, everything that mechanical Luo Wei's I see, what I know in the 6-path system, will also make me smile, Xia Guixuan finally said. These things, don't tell anyone anymore. Yes, I know. Luo Wei thought about it, and suddenly said, I even suspect that the destruction of our world is due to the beginning of exploring things related to this. That's not right. It's still far from it. You only know technology but not cultivation, Xia Guixuan sighed, but it's hard to say. There are many mysteries in the thousand-edge fantasy realm. I need to explore it to know what they are thinking. Luo Wei didn't talk about this topic anymore, with deep hatred in his eyes. My consciousness was uploaded early, and I didn't know that the realm was destroyed by the thousand-edge fantasy realm. But Aoli is right. I really had love in the past. When I destroy the thousand-edge fantasy realm, I hope I can help you find her. By then, you will be on your own in the 6 reincarnations. Thank you, sir. In fact, if I don't have any hope, I may not have the face to see her. I should thank you. Xia Guixuan's eyes were dim. It was you who opened the most important door for me. Chapter 374. I want to make a merit. The so-called opening of a door is often not a direction, but a hint. Whether you think about it or not, even the unintentional words of a passerby may inspire you. Luo Wei's ghost's personal experience was very inspiring. In fact, I had vaguely thought about it before. The undead in the dead world all think that the world should be like this. I just have one head, Extra parts affect IQ, and so on. They live quite happily, ordering takeout and eating at food stalls, which is no different from the ordinary world. So what about other worlds? For example, I have thought about it before, do the NPCs in the game world think they are real people? And the game world is the real world in their eyes. The world is closed and returned to silence. Even the biggest boss in the world will not know when his world suddenly disappears. Everything returns to nothingness. It also returns to the ruins. Xia Guixuan didn't say anything more after all. Hints are one thing, and confirmation is another. There is still a long way to go here, but there is a clearer direction. He got up directly and operated the integration of the ghost and the cyborg Luo Wei. Luo Wei's skills were a little disappointing to him before. It was not that his level was not good enough. His level was indeed higher than that of Kang Longxing and Zelter, and it brought a lot of benefits. For example, the anti-radar system of the Galaxy Fleet's raid on the Zelter main star, as well as the speed-up of warship performance and the establishment of intercontinental portal groups, are all derived from Luo Wei's technology. However, there are too few flexibility and self-play, and the imagination is too weak. It can be seen from the construction of the temple system that he is more like an apprentice who follows the rules than a scholar who has established his own school. To put it bluntly, he failed to make Xia Guixuan feel amazed by technology, and he is not worthy of the level of I am the best even if I am not the best in the plane. Xia Guixuan is looking forward to whether Luo Wei can bring him new surprises after integrating the true human wisdom and human nature. The operation of breaking up consciousness and integrating human nature is already a piece of cake. He just did this to Long Yao not long ago. Xia Guixuan did it very smoothly. Looking at the flickering eyes of the cyborg, he was thinking in his heart, I wonder how Long Yao is doing now in charge of the affairs of the Zelter star field. Everyone goes back and forth between planes, and the time is different. According to the time of Kanglong Star, half a month has passed. In the past half month, I went to the dead world. In fact, there are many things to do in the entire star field. As a whole, the unification of riding, wheels and weights and measures is in progress. Yin Xiaoru and Gongsun Jiayu are co-hosting on the main star Kanglong, and the real trouble is of course in the Zelter area. It is a new land and it is ridiculously large. There are many internal problems that have not been completely resolved. This time, we have to promote the standard of unification of the star field, and the governing ability is very high. Long Yao may be the most suitable, and then there is an assistant Shang Xiaoi. Yes, Shang Xiaoi did not return to Kanglong Star, and has been assisting Long Yao here. In fact, Shang Xiaoi's position in the core of this kingdom of God is very high now, almost the second in command. She should not assist others, but others should assist her. However, when the object of assistance is Long Yao, Shang Xiaoi will not have any objection, but is very accustomed to it. When Yao mentioned this, she was somewhat impressed by Xia Guixuan's magnanimity. You really let Shang Xiaoi assist Long Yao. Have you ever thought about whether there will be problems? Long Yao hates you in her heart. When Long Yao's evil thoughts merged with me, I knew it very well, and even knew some of the plans I wanted to execute. Although there is no hatred in the figure mode, you let her merge back into the evil thoughts, and Shang Xiaoi has old feelings for her, since I know that the evil thoughts have dissipated, and now only pure human nature remains. How petty I am still on guard. If I have to be on guard, shouldn't I also be on guard against you? Shouldn't you be on guard against me? Every time Yao Wu thought about it, she found it difficult to understand. Why was he willing to stand in front of her and expose his back? Wasn't he really afraid of her counterattack? Think I was tempted by sex, Pa. Yao Wu felt that she couldn't communicate with him. Every time she wanted to say something serious, she was dragged into this kind of thing. Well, maybe what he said was true. But how could there be such a lord, such a god? And yet he still rules the star field. But he rules well. According to observations from the market star, the government orders are going smoothly and the internal turmoil has disappeared. Tulin Kangla Eni and others are very cooperative with Long Yao, and more importantly, they are all working hard to promote Father God. In fact, as long as you hold up the banner of Father God, it will not be difficult to rule the star field. At least for the temples and fanatics of the original energy race, they are willing to self-abuse and will listen to your orders. Although the beastmen are bad by nature, they are the most susceptible to this. The more ignorant they are, the more they are susceptible to this. Now they are collectively doing hard labor, and they all think it is God's punishment, and they have no complaints at all. The effect of religious brainwashing has always been like this, not to mention that this is a true god who can really show his holiness. In that battle of gods, Xia Guixuan's ability to overturn the world was obvious to all, which is something that the so-called blood erosion of the same level cannot do. Many of the energy tribe and the beast tribe did not feel the loss of the defeated, but were excited and enthusiastic. After being lost for hundreds of thousands of years, they finally returned to the embrace of God. Let us build the glory of the Father God together in the future. Therefore, Xia Guixuan was obviously not their real Father God, and they had to accept it. Long Gao's rule was partly because he was really powerful, and the bigger reason was that he was good at pretending to be a tiger, and Tulin and the others cooperated well. Yao Wu also knew this, and it was precisely because he knew that he was a fake Father God that Yao Wu was very dissatisfied. For example, the Beast Tribe, in fact, the Father God of the Beast Tribe should be his enemy Di Jun. He robbed the enemy's son and used him to do hard labor, and the enemy's son kowtowed to thank him. What a big deal. But sometimes, isn't a fake more useful than a real one? As long as he doesn't turn his rule into slavery, but truly develops the star field, that's enough, and Yao Wu will be willing to submit to him, and even regard him as the Father God. Well, it's better not to tease people all the time. Then I will be a tyrant. The cyborg Luo Wei opened his red mechanical eyes. How is it? Xia Guixuan asked. Sir, I have an idea. Do you think you support it, huh? You have an idea right after waking up. The reason why the Jimeo star system originally used the formless spirit was because the civilizations of Jimeo star intersected, the situation was complicated, and it was the boundary between life and death, so it needed this spirit to suppress it. But in the current situation, the Kanglong star domain no longer has such complicated conflicts. On the contrary, the spirit of this system is very suitable for the death realm. I don't need to rebuild the reincarnation system in the death realm. I can just move this system over and modify it and use it. The original estimate of a long preparation process actually only takes half a year or even less. This is proactive imagination and creativity, right? Although the technology has not changed, what can be done has changed. Maybe there's no rush for the 6 paths. You assist Yao Wu and analyze something. What is it? A drop of blood, encrypted blood. Well, it might be best if Yu Sun is there too. Just as he was saying this, Xiang Yu Sun's voice came from outside. Master, I'm back to find herbs to replenish your vitality. Let me in, I guarantee they will be useful to you. Maya glanced at him from the side. I don't know if this "you're so useful" refers to medicine or people. Because at this time, Xiang Yuxun is a girl. It still couldn't help but said, actually, huh? Xiang Yuxun turned her head to look at it. What's the matter? According to my understanding of the master, you'd better not be anxious. It's much better to stay in the lolly style and rub against him more than to directly become a girl. Why? Because then he won't be entangled. It's okay to hug you. When one day he gets used to it, you suddenly become a girl, then it will be different. But if you are a girl now, he will have to act like a master, which will be a hindrance. Hiss, dead mushroom, you won't cheat me. You and I have a grudge, right? Maya had a blank expression. Compared to avenging your unclear grudges, it's the fact that the master has less and less use for me that is fatal. Now the master relies on Luo Wei for everything, and I, Maya, have no status at all. I want to return to the position of the master's confidant. I want to make a contribution. P.S. The double monthly ticket has arrived. Although there are few updates, considering that I have no internet and use my mobile phone, I still beg for votes. Chapter 375 The Approaching Fog. Xiang Yuxin thought for a long time and still felt that what Moi said made sense, because she had the same idea at first, so she deliberately restored her original appearance to rub against her master even though she had grown bigger in the dead world. It was the indifferent look on her master's face that made her feel unconfident again, and she wanted to try to grow up. As a result, what the mushroom said made sense. She tried to ask, hey, do you think I look good after I grow bigger? Moi said speechlessly. Don't you have a magic mirror? Why are you asking me? It can't speak accurately. Xiang Yuxin blushed slightly, thinking about the process of asking the magic mirror. Magic mirror, who is the most beautiful dragon in the world? This time it's really you, the magic mirror said. At least in my experience, I have never seen a little female dragon prettier than you. Xiang Yuxin was overjoyed to hear this, but in fact she was a little suspicious, because this magic mirror couldn't have seen many dragons. But Xiang Yuxin chose not to ask, so she just took it as it was. However, when she saw Moi, she couldn't help but want to ask what the mushroom man thought of his aesthetics. Moi looked at her for a long time as if she were mentally retarded, and then said, "The standard of beauty of life is first of all a big head and a cylindrical body, and secondly a smooth bald head. Look at me, I am a famous handsome man in the mushroom world, Xiang Yuxin." Moi was very disappointed. When you were a dragon, it was barely okay, although not so standard. But the human form is really ugly, like a gourd, without the smooth feeling of a cylinder at all. It was okay when you were a child, but it was flat. How come you have changed when you grew up? And that head is simply terrible. Not only is it not big enough, but the hair is so long. In our opinion, this is called a moldy mushroom, and everyone should avoid it. Xiang Yuxin kicked Moi, and Moi screamed and flew away. The door to the underground had been opened long ago. Xiang Yuxin walked down angrily with her hands on her waist, but she was actually very happy. Moi knows nothing, a body like a gourd, that is the highest praise, okay. It's a pity that I have to change back first. When they arrived at the underground core, Xiang Yuxin had already turned into a little girl, plopping towards the master. Master, I brought the best blood jade Ganoderma. Well, this is good. Is this the reason why Moi didn't come in with you? Xia Guixuan picked her up naturally, took the Ganoderma and smiled, because it is similar to the mushroom species. Haha, maybe, ha. Xiang Yuxin was very happy to rub against the master's arms, thinking that Moi was right. The master would not think too much when holding a child, a taking god who should have seen through all appearances, but always acted according to appearances, which was also strange. Yao Wu glanced at Xiang Yuxin. Xia Guixuan didn't have the leisure to spy on what the little apprentice was doing before entering the door. He was communicating with Luo Wei. Yao Wu looked at him intentionally or unintentionally and took in everything. In fact, in her opinion, this little girl didn't know what love was at all. It seemed like she had a habit of rubbing against the master, with respect, gratitude and admiration mixed together. I really wait for the day when your master shows his lust for you. I wonder if you will run away. Do you really think that this kind of intimate hug and kiss is the same thing? Pah, how disgusting. Yao Wu couldn't help but wipe her mouth again. I hope you will still have time to run away by then. In ancient times, Yi Gong loved dragons, and now Xiaolong loves his master? This lolly is better, your master won't be embarrassed, and you don't have to run away. By the way, your Wuxiang has been consolidated very quickly. Xia Guixuan was checking his disciple's body with some surprise. Generally, it takes a period of time to consolidate when entering Wuxiang for the first time, otherwise the realm will be unstable. You just came out of the death realm and went to get medicine for me without going into seclusion, and now it's very stable. Are you a genius? This, Xiang Yuxuan said cautiously. I still combined my own business rules. I was almost there. Jimeo Star is my attempt. At the beginning, I also intended to try to be a business priest in a small world. Now it can be regarded as a combination. I wonder if it can be regarded as deviating from the master's way. Very good, you learned the dragon's will from me. As for you, of course you can use other means. It's good to be able to go your own way. By the way, doing business in the Kanglong Star domain in the future, it seems that you have lost the challenge, right? Yes, master. If it's about conquering a world to sell goods, we could have done it a long time ago, but it's not in line with our direction. The Kanglong Star region is almost that way now. It's not suitable for me to continue doing it. I should try to explore other areas. Xiang Yuxuan blinked as she spoke. It just so happens that I won't be competing with master's wife for business. Xia Guixuan laughed dumbly. Do you really think Xiaoru is obsessed with doing business? No one is like that. It's just seeming to be so. Not only do you have no competition, but you can actually be her distributor. But since you intend to explore other directions, it's up to you. It's a good thing to have a broad vision. Maybe in the future you will be the queen of trade in all worlds. It's hard to imagine what it would be like for an unlucky lolly to be the queen of all worlds with her hands on her hips. Xia Guixuan thought about it and felt inexplicably cute and expectant. He actually laughed out loud. I'm looking forward to that day. No one knew what he was laughing at. Inexplicably, Luo Wei, who had returned with humanity, even doubted whether he was still a robot. Why couldn't he understand what people were doing? It couldn't help but ask, Sir, can we start studying that drop of blood? Xia Guixuan's smile slowly faded, and he watched Yao Wu take out a drop of dragon blood. Luo Wei's assistance was not like the original one. He and Yao Wu used to talk with divine thoughts. There were a lot of instruments and equipment and computer analysis. A drop of Xia Guixuan's blood was also extracted for comparison. Xia Guixuan felt a little irritated, as if he had the kind of uneasiness of waiting for childbirth outside the delivery room. He didn't continue to watch and walked out of the underground core. In fact, some things don't need clear answers, they can almost be revealed. The answer is just to get the final conclusion and more specific details. In essence, it must be an artificial gene, a man-made god, and it also has the effect of self-reproduction. To be honest, whether the dragon god is in this situation has nothing to do with him. Even if the little apprentice is related to this, he can try to transform the apprentice and be done with it. As long as he ignores the entire dragon clan, it is not difficult for him to genetically modify the physical body of a single person. He can create a physical body for Long Yao, let alone this. But the dragon god is not just the god of the dragon clan, it involves the old place. The dragon holding the candle, Long Minyik. All the details point to the fact that part of the mythology of China is related to this matter. The dragon god is like this, what about the others? The various immortal worlds and kingdoms, the wars that everyone once fought, and the land of Guixu that they finally pointed to, the annihilated ancient gods. A huge mystery and a faint uneasiness arose in his heart. Xia Guixuan wanted to go home countless times, and his sister's words lingered in his ears again. You must be dressed in brocade when you return home. His sister must know something. In theory, everything has been fine for so long. As long as there is no off-site accident, then nothing will happen. What is an accident? Going back by myself is an accident. The accidental person who should be sent to Guixu the most? In other words, nothing would happen originally. If I go back rashly, it will trigger a chain of events. I can't go back. Returning home must be in glory. When you have a certain degree of confidence, at least when you have solved some mysteries from the side, or when you have made further progress on the path and reached the supreme, then go back. Now there is a very appropriate entry point, Qianling Fantasy World and the remains of the Holy Demon. Xia Guixuan does not believe that Qianling Fantasy World has nothing to do with this matter, and it should even be strongly related. As long as the Qianling Fantasy World is conquered like the conquest of Zelter, and the research and splicing of the remains of the Holy Demon are to a certain extent, most of the fog will inevitably fall into place. But if it is to conquer the Qianling Fantasy World, it is too urgent now, and the strength of the Kanglong Star Domain is obviously insufficient. The only advantage is that the Qianling Fantasy World has never found a path to invade this place in a large scale, and the root of this path is in his own hands. Xia Guixuan's magic mirror is the key. That was done by my sister. How long ago? My sister had laid out for this. P.S. Thanks to the two brothers Black Ice Technology and Wu Liusu for joining the alliance. I will try to update more when the new residence is stable. Also, the Yao Wu character is not out because I have no internet connection and I can't find the character function in the background of my phone. It should be available tonight. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.